Try something. Oh. Yo. All right. There's some stuff going on with the mic. I'm trying to figure out. Hi, Mom. Happy New Year. Alright. Should be like that. Is this like clipping really hard? I'm hoping this is fine. It's coming in 4 hours soon. Oh man. I bumped some stuff on my mixer, and I'm really hoping that this sounds okay. But it's just like, hi guys, how's it going? No one's saying anything, no one's screaming yet. Sounds fine. Awesome. All right. Yo. Let's get into this one, because I had a lot of like good responses to the last time we did this. Woo! Here we go. How's it going, Decryptor? All right. Now I got a couple of these up. I'm gonna do a skim real quick. There's one that got submitted that is already over 1,000 words. That I'm willing to take a quick skim of. At least like the first 3 levels. Just to kind of get it pointed in the right direction. How's it going, Tiger Uppercut? What a name. Alright. So this... Alright, this is The Witch by Jarlix, and this is like the first time I've ever actually thought that this font looked pretty good on a cover. For one thing. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the aesthetic of like the painting behind it makes it look like this font isn't atrocious. But the rest of it feels very fairy tale. I like the vibe so far. The glyph is cute. That glyph is pretty adorable, not gonna lie. So let's see with a witch what you got going for you. It kind of reminds me why 5e stuff tends to not be great for a consult stream. Where's the submission form? It's in the Indestructoboy Discord. And wait, we already looked at one of yours, Onyx? Okay, 1d8, midliner. Okay, yep. Maybe mid-backliner. Blowguns, okay. So we're sticking to a very 5e kind of format here. Let me zoom up on this a little bit more. Dagger component pouch herbalism kit. Okay, so it tends to be the way that these are structured whenever we're making a 5th edition class. What we will tend to do is, if it's a given thing like this right here, you're not given a choice, right? So this is a thing that you must take. This is a thing that we'd probably put later on, unless it's offering a choice of, you know, A, B, like this is right here. You gotta run, love you too, Bob. Unless we're given a choice, going ahead and put these all grouped together in like one of the bullets. They often form covens, the groups of practitioners. Okay, so you get your subclass at first level. It determines your ability score for your witchcraft DC. Okay, I kind of like that. I've done this in the past as well, where... Wait, you know, but you got more? LOL, does that mean you're not allowed to submit? I mean, I've got 5 pulled up right here. So let me get through these, and then we'll do that next year. Spell attack bonus and other modifiers is outlined in your witch features. Okay. Witch ability modifier. Yep. Okay. Beguile. Your presence is charming, confounding, and confusing to those unprepared for your subtle beguiling influence. When a creature you can see makes a melee attack against you, and that attack is not a critical hit, you may use your reaction to force them to make a charisma saving throw against your witchcraft DC. If the creature fails, they are charmed by you until the end of your next turn, and the triggering attack misses. You cannot be wearing medium or heavy armor to use this feature. You did this as... Okay, everything's grouped up. Not... Okay, these headers are not for the feature itself. It's for the level. Okay. Okay. What else are they getting? Because, like, I see there's no spell slots here. So... They get cantrips. You can get your spell Rosin. Witch Cauldron takes 10 minutes of concentration as though you were concentrating on the spell. The Witch Cauldron counts as both alchemist supplies and brewer supplies. It is medium size, 40 pounds, and 3 feet in diameter. By speaking a command word of your choice, the cauldron can be magically reduced to tiny. Okay. Spell brews 4 spells that meet the following requirements. Okay. I'm going to make one recommendation just off of the first blush already, and that is that this is already way too complicated. You can do something like this, but if you're suddenly customizing the way that like each subclass is getting, like, here's how it gets its spells, this is getting something very specific to make it even really work for the idea of like, hey, we have a witch, it has to get a cauldron, right? Like, if it's a witch, it has to get a cauldron, then like maybe that could be like, one of the things I've liked is handling this as something that was like a selection, almost like a warlock invocation. So maybe that could be an idea. Because now that these are handled as like the subclasses here, I think that like a lot of people might like the idea of a witch with a cauldron as like an option they could do, not just like build an entire subclass around it. Because what's wound up happening is looking at this first level loadout. Oh no, okay, so this is the first level. The third level is where you can finally cast spells, right? This is, without getting into this, I'm just gonna say right off rip, there's too much. I could read through this, and even if I have a perfect understanding of it, I'm just gonna say there's too much here. If this is a spellcasting feature, we need to simplify this. We need to figure out a way to cut this back down and make sure that like this is, because like, think about it like this, okay? If this is gonna go on your character sheet, what are they writing, right? And if there's a bunch of stuff that just feels unnecessary, or like it just bloats out the character sheet, it's time to cut back, you know? I'm going to tell you right now that like if this is sort of a throw everything at the wall kind of a situation where like these are all the ideas that I really want to get out there, it's time to start cutting back and figuring out how you can express this like for a subclass. Try to do this on one page, because we have a half a page here, and over half, so 2 pages for a subclass. Even with what they're doing with D&D 2024, even Wizards of the Coast is starting to cut back on their subclass expression because it is too wordy. Like, yeah, I'm gonna need to know, like, Mass Darling Death. Yeah, like, I'm gonna need to know real quick, like, okay. So there's a thing called, I've talked about this, called buy-in, right? If this is a 26-page class, that's more than the latest Artificer UA. And I know that there's spells in here and everything. If, like I said, if we're doing this for a submission, I would probably have to spend the next 4 hours going through this thing. And that's not really what I'm trying to do with these kinds of consults. So, what I'm going to recommend is trying to cut this back to where you can, like, take an example from Druid, okay? Look at what they're doing with Druid in 2024 and try to keep your, like, text expression down to something as simple as that, right? the spacing that you have here in between, or I guess it's the leading. The leading that you have on this font is also bloating out your page. This really, really, really needs to get cut down. And that's without me looking any further than beyond just knowing what I know it gets at first level, right? So there's a flexible ability score like choice that you can do to determine how you're going to get your witch spells and how you cast. That's fine. I think that that's cool. I like the idea of going in and doing that kind of flexibility. I think it was one of the things I did with my Sovereign and maybe Runekeeper. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's fine if it's flexible, but we now kind of have this problem of this is the same issue that I see with like Ranger, right? So like Ranger, the reason why I've said that this hasn't really hit for 5e is because Ranger has meant a lot of different things to a lot of different people. You know what I mean? Like, some people are going to say that Legolas is a Ranger, and then you're going to have people immediately in my chat that are going to go, actually, it's Legolas is a fighter, right? I get you. Okay, well then Aragorn is a fighter. Okay, so if Aragorn is a Ranger, there we go. So if Aragorn's a Ranger, then like that basis of it, then it can't get spellcasting. Well, then you're going to get people that say, well, because D&D has historically had Rangers with spellcasting, it needs to still have spellcasting. And then I'm like, okay, well, so now we have two different, like, expectations of what this class would be, right? Then you might have some people that go, actually, Dristo Warden is the iconic Ranger. So then we're like, okay, so all Rangers need to have a pet, and dual wielding is their thing, right? So because there's a bunch of different pop culture expressions for what a witch could be, I really want to try and figure out, like, what is the definitive, like, give me the oomph of the expression in the first 3 levels immediately. This is rough. It's hard to do. This is a skill that I think really separates, like, I think once people really nail that down, they do start to be able to do this kind of stuff professionally. Right now, as I'm looking through this, I would love some simplicity brought in here. I get the idea your Witch Coven is the thing that gives you your magic, so therein, boom, you get it at first level, right? This is a separate feature. They're charmed by you until the end of your next turn, or the triggering attack misses. You cannot be wearing medium or heavy armor to use this feature. So now here's the deal. This is now introducing another role. Not only the creature has to make the attack to see if it even hits. Oh no, it's if it makes it, right? Okay, well now we have a resolution issue happening in here. When the creature makes an attack against you, and the attack is not a critical hit. Okay, so this right here already means that this resolution could not have been determined, right? So the only way that this works is if you see when a creature hits you, or when a creature you can see hits you with a melee attack, that is not a critical hit, right? If it just makes the melee attack, well, before it even makes the d20 roll, that's whenever I'm assuming you're supposed to do this, right? So the timing, the sequencing is off with this. Hey, what up, Phil? The sequencing is off with this, you know? So I would look at that. Force them to make a charisma saving throw against your witchcraft DC. This is going to introduce another role that is going to be a bit obnoxious in play. And it tends to be why we see unarmored defense rather than a reaction to force a different saving throw. They're charmed by you, so this falls off late. Unless you have a feature that like improves that later on. But as of right now, the way that I'm seeing this is like the loadout makes me think that this wants to be a backslash like midliner, and they're given an unarmored defense style feature right here. This could be okay, but the sequencing needs to get fixed. That's a big deal right there. Invoker, you've learned to create small occult tokens from materials resonating with the occult magic, such as animal parts, hair, teeth, antlers, scraps of cloth, twine, as well as directly from the latent magical energies surround you. Okay. These tokens are tiny size, have negligible weight, and can be used as a spellcasting focus for your witch cantrips and any spells you learn as a part of the witch class or your witch coven. Okay, I feel like there's some redundancy in here. As part of the witch class, your witch coven should be a part of the witch class. Having to cover all these like instances where people are like they read this down and they go, well, wait, why would this not work with that thing over there? And you're like, well, it does. Why do you interpret it to not work? Right? This is something I learned with like Vagabond's playtest, is like some of the feedback you'll get, and I think this is from like more of a 5e brain kind of an idea, is like, unless the clauses are covered to where it should not work, people are going to try and interpret it to not work, right? And this is a thing where I'm like, why would you try to read it to not work the way that the thing should work, right? Like, there's a paranoia that gets involved with reading the rules that I think like has made a lot of people go, we need to write it to where like we have to account for wang rods who are going to try to like destroy the thing that we wrote, you know? The dark magic contained within these tokens means that you are limited in the number of tokens you can create and hold at one time. The number, okay, starts at 4 and increases with levels in this class as seen on the witch class table. When you take a long rest, you can create a number of tokens up to your token maximum. You may also create tokens in the following ways. There's too much going on with this. There's way too much going on with this. Yeah, this is now they've got this special reaction, and I haven't read through it yet, but I'm just gonna say right off rip, for the second level loadout to already hit this, and now, like, I think you have a lot of ideas that you want to make work for this, and this needs to be refined into having a defined central core. Because at this point right now, I don't know what its core thing is going to be. You know what I mean? Damn. Oh, that didn't... I don't know why that doesn't show up in recent support whenever people re-up on Patreon. Damn. Well, I'll just say it right here. Thank you so much, CB Hammond, for your generosity on Patreon. So... yeah, it's too much. You have too many things kicking on in here with, like, this is a special reaction. We already have some sequencing issues happening right in here with Beguile. The complexity that's happening in here. I'm going to recommend this. Rather than trying to tackle an entire class, just take on a subclass. Take on, look at a subclass for something and try to write for that. I know that, like, you really want to make a witch. I'd love to make a witch really work for D&D. Wang Rods, you mean the average Pathfinder 2nd edition subreddit? I'm not involved with those subreddits, so I don't really know for sure. I'll take your word at it, though. I'm going to say this. Yeah, try to start with something smaller. Start with a subclass. And then once you get a grasp on writing a subclass, write a subclass for something else. Do this until you built out a subclass for, like, every official class, right? And then I would recommend branching out and trying to pick up what, like, other homebrewers are doing with their, like, classes and figure out, like, okay, I have a whole thing here on YouTube about building out your playstyle, right? Define your zone, define your dynamic, define your role. Figure out those 3 things by first level, no later than second, and you're going to be on the right track. But as of right now, I just don't really see what this thing is supposed to be doing. And it feels like you're trying to cover a lot of different bases to make it what you think should work, right? Yeah, that's my thoughts on that so far, just off first blush. Again, because it's over like 2,000 words. I mean, because it's over 1,000 words straight up, I can't really go through the whole thing. But yeah, looking at this at a glance, I can already tell you by the second level. If you wanted to know my definitive, like, oh, this is the other thing. During the witching hour of 12 to 1 a.m., you have double sight up to 120 feet. So some people are going to read this and think this means out of game time or whatever. Not all, like, world clocks work this way. You can make some assumptions about the way that world clocks will work, but, like, you know, yeah. start smaller. I really, really recommend you start smaller. It's clear you have a passion because you've written a lot in this. And, like, that's really the most important thing right up front is that you're passionate about making something. So, like, try to start smaller and start with a subclass. And then move out from there is where I would say. Making a subclass is like building a bike. Making a class is like building a motorcycle. So start smaller and then try to build out from there. Okay. Yeah, that's just like, if you're trying to like really build up as a game designer, that's what I would recommend. Sorry, I couldn't really go through the entire thing, but I can tell you right now, the info I've given you right there is the only way that this thing should move forward. Is where, yeah. But thank you for submitting. I was like kind of interested to see what people would like be submitting stuff for 5e if that was coming up. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you. Let's take a look at Cartomancers. This is a 3-page game by Matthew Rustad. Now, okay. Cartomancers is a unique tabletop RPG that blends the depth of tarot with the strategic element of blackjack. The system is designed for collaborative storytelling, where players navigate a world shaped by chance, choice, and the mysteries of the tarot. The game is suitable for groups of up to 2 to 6 players, with one acting as an oracle to guide the story. Okay, so a GM. Or in a narratorless variant for cooperative interpretation. Okay. So you need a 78-card tarot deck with a 22 major arcana and 56 minor arcana. I can't show my butt! Well, I'm one of those weirdos who just so happens to have a tarot deck on hand. Alright. I love this deck. Woo. Alright. Aw, man. Hang on. Where's the book cam? Why is this one always reset every time we do stream? There we go. The exposure needs to come down. Aha. There we go. Okay. Show success in life and your. Oh, thank you so much, Ardu. Thank you. Yeah, happy New Year to you too. What a kind comment. All right. Let's see here. Okay, book cam. Bam. All right. So we've got all the major arcana, all that stuff on here. So how does this game actually work? Wands are creativity, ambition, and action. K, mental type, emotions, relationships, and intuition. Swords, pentacles. Wands, cups, swords, pentacles. Cups, wands. Yeah, yeah. I don't know why. Something felt. Yeah. Okay, physical and physical. When you create your character, you should choose one of the major arcanas as your archetype, and then you must assign your attributes. You gain the following array and must put them in any order you like. 3, 2, 1. Grit, smarts, and luck. Represents fortune, intuition. Okay. This is physical prowess, endurance. Okay, so your array is 3, 2, 1. Alright, so the first one that came up for me in the major arcana, I have Wheel of Fortune here, so like, I guess we'll go with that. Alright, so that. Right. I have my archetype, the Wheel of Fortune. 3, 2, 1. So grit, smarts, and luck. Let's just say 3 in luck, 1 in smarts, 2 in grit. Add your grit to resolve. Add your smarts to any mental check. Okay, so how do you make a check? Players resolve actions by drawing tarot cards, striving to reach the target number without going over, akin to blackjack. Narrative outcomes are influenced by both the numerical totals and symbolic meanings of the drawn cards. Okay. 78 card tarot deck. Those are some rookie numbers when you got a 133 card tarot deck. Look, this is so. This is the kind of card deck. If you're already asking people to get like a tarot deck, all right, that's one thing, right? Now, if we're going out here and we're gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna get the like eccentric Crystal Mommy tarot deck, then yeah, 133 card tarot deck, that makes sense. Like, let me guess, your room smells like patchouli. Narrative outcomes are influenced by both the numerical totals and the symbolic meaning of the drawn cards. Okay, so you declare your action, draw cards. The player draws one card at a time, adding its value to their total, and continue until they succeed, choose, or stop, or bust. Choose to stop or bust. Okay. So, alright, so same as blackjack. Okay. Yeah, it uses a commentary deck, yeah. I've already had people that were like, hey, whenever you're making Vagabond and like you have the like card-based one that uses the deck of poker cards, how do you know that everybody's got that deck of poker cards? And I'm like, how do you know that everybody has a set of role-playing dice? What are you talking about? Okay, Major Arcana count as apply the card's number 0 to 21 or apply the card's special effect to your check. So the cards have special effects? Hang on. Oh, maybe you interpret that? Hit or stay. The player chooses to draw more cards, hit or stop. Okay, so number one with doing the blackjack resolution, I think that this could be cool, but I will say this is taking a second to resolve, right? So match or exceed target 21. 21 is a critical, okay? So you hit a blackjack, that's a crit, okay? So let's see here. I make a check. Let's say I'm making my check with smarts. You can add or subtract up to your smarts. So okay, I like that idea. And you can add or subtract up to your grit to your physical check. I like that. Gain a number of fate tokens equal to your luck. To any check that can reasonably rely on chance. Okay. Now let's take a look here. So let's say, right, I'm making a check, and it's going to use my smarts. So let's say, all right, boom. Okay, that's a 8. Jeez, I don't know why that took me for. Okay, ready? 8. All right. Ooh, so that's I hit a Major Arcana. Or apply the card's number, or apply this card's special effect to your check. Your room smells like cats. That scans too. I should have said cats as well. TM Crummy, hey, welcome. So it says the world, and it says 21 up on top. I think we would apply a special effect, whatever we're going to interpret that as. You feel obligated to say big money at Wheel of Fortune. All right, so let's see. We're going to go for another one. Okay. So that is 7. That means that our total is a 15. We're going to, I guess, hit again. Because even if we added the smarts, it's... Okay, so 3. Right? So we have 18. If we add our smarts, which was a 2, we could get up to 20. Match or exceed target. So the target is determined. Draws one card. Higher values act first. Both the attacker and defender... Hang on. Both the attacker and the defender draw cards, aiming to get as close to 21 as possible. Okay. Now... Oh, the attacker's total is higher. So you're... Okay, so both are playing blackjack against each other. Immediately, okay, so right off rip, my first thought is I can see a resolution mechanic in here. I'm kind of wondering how difficulty scales here. If we're always trying to hit 21, I would be really curious to see what attacker and defender kind of meant here with a stat block. Shuffle all discarded cards into the deck. Okay. So, You shuffle up all discarded cards and continue resolving the action. Okay. Fate token is... Okay, shuffle all discarded cards into the deck. Here's the deal. I know how powerful deck thinning is, because I'm like really big on like deck builder roguelites and stuff. I actually think... I think that you could have a resolution mechanic in here, but I think like deck thinning is like better than reshuffling your discarded cards into the deck. This is accounting for like, okay, you know that like there was a card that you drew that you would really, really want to be back into your deck. Yeah, but like with a 72, wait, what was it? 72? Was that right? 78. With a 78 card tarot deck, like I'm going to want this to get whittled down as much as I can. Like, you're watching your friend play Balatro at the same time as the stream. Yeah, I would say that you're trying to probably want to whittle that down. And the Fate token... How do I put it? I think the Fate token use right here is not really good. That's like my first blush, right? Because like you're now making your deck thicker with all of these discarded cards you may or may not actually want into the deck. And I know that you have a choice here, but the choice kind of feels more often than not that this is worse to do than it is good to do. Redraws are doubling a card number. I think you could do that, yeah. Like card removal, also like splitting. There's a whole thing here. There's a whole thing with like blackjack where you can like split. Okay, so let's say here's my draw. Okay, well that's... Hang on. Alright, so I'm going to do my draw. All hail Balatro. Okay. Now see, you guys say that, and then now this stream is going to turn into a Balatro stream, where... Alright, so there's another 8, and there's a 2, right? So there's a thing you could also do where it's like, oh, okay, well, I can choose to split, and now I'm playing 2 separate hands of blackjack. Hit over here. Ooh, an ace. Okay, ace and ace, so I got like 19. Ooh, and then I've got this tarot, this major arcana over here, whatever that would be. I'm not going to hit over here. Wait, sorry. 8 plus ace, so yeah, 19. I'm not going to hit over there. I'm going to hit here. So 2 plus 7, so 9. All right, let's go for another hit. All right, so there's... Wow, 13. I'm going to go for another hit. That is 13 plus 9. That'd be 22, a bust, right? So this hand busts. There's this other hand over here. This could be your version of, like, advantage. Okay, so, like, if one of the ones passes, it counts as a pass, right? Even if you bust with the other hand, you've got your advantage, disadvantage right here. You draw and you do a split, and then if you bust, you bust. And, like, that's what it counts as for disadvantage. Advantage is the other way around. You know what I mean? So, like, the split works like that. I think you have mechanics that could work in here for resolution mechanic. The thing is, if it takes this long to resolve a single check, this is one of those things where, like, this works, but how quick does it work, right? How well can you speed this up is kind of where I'm at with that. So it seems like everything is an opposed check, which is interesting. I would like to see this. I think you have an interesting system core, but I think you could go even simpler with this. And I think that there's territory for this to get explored even further. But my major thing with this would be recommending that it needs to... it needs to speed up the check. That's the thing. I think at the end of all this, my big critique on it would be we need to figure out a way that it can speed up the check. Because if it's going to be playing blackjack every single time this happens, this might be interesting with like 2 or 3 players. I think if you got this on a bigger table, this would feel like a slog. So yeah, that's kind of my recommendation there. I think you do have an interesting and pretty well thought out resolution mechanic. It just needs to be faster, like right off first rip. And I would like to see this. Like, can you go even simpler with the rule set here? Because I see a lot happening with a lot of these like metadata kind of, you see what I mean? Like, this is like a subheader basically right here. I think the organization of this could also really help. But yeah. You just tune in, you submitted Cartomancers. Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, like, I think that you have an interesting resolution mechanic here. I've tried it out, and it feels like you have the beginning of a really interesting system core, but it needs to go faster. I think that in the way that this draws, and the fact that you have these opposed checks, it would definitely need to be quicker. The reason we use dice is for speed. Yeah, now there's a dice set out there that has playing cards on it too. Yeah, but I still think... I still don't even really think that dice are the solution here. We have a calculation that's happening after we do the check, right? And like, Balatro inspired. Nice. Yeah, like, choosing to go the blackjack route instead of poker is interesting. Whenever I was working on a card version of Vagabond, I was thinking about doing it with like the scene is set by here. I'll show you. The scene is set by like the GM drawing like here's the turn. Okay. Well, that's not gonna work. All right, cool. Now, my stats, if I have like a 5, that means that in my hand I have, like, if I'm going to make this check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And, okay, well, I keep drawing major arcana, hang on. Okay. So, all right. Now, if I could make a poker hand with something that's out here, if I was doing it right here, right off the turn... Wait, what is it? The turn... No, is it the flop? Flop, turn, river? No, river... what the hell ever. Okay. Anyway, so right here, whenever the cards are first shown, if I could, it's like, depending on how good it is, it could count as a crit, right? So I have, what, ace, 2... 3, 4. I don't have a straight. Okay, so then like something proceeds. I don't really have anything to do here. There's another major arcana. There's another major arcana. Okay, boom, 7. I only have a pair. Like I had a pair on the first hand, so like I could play that. Boom, get this card out of my hand. Right? Okay. But now the problem that's going on right now is you see how there's just like too much happening to determine the outcome right now. I don't really feel how the actions are getting resolved. I've been trying to figure this out for like how I could make this work for Vagabond. Where like the situation is basically okay, is this like an easy difficulty situation? This is kind of inspired by Eat the Reich, by the way. So, like, if it's an easy difficulty situation, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then, like, oh, okay, well, that means there's already more out there. And, like, if situations are, like, if the situation evolves, it could add another card in there. Boom, right? So, like, for the entire table, it gets a lot easier to resolve what's happening in the scene, because now we have more options from our hand. So, like, if I said, yes, I'm going to make a dex check, and my dex is like a 5, I can pull 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards, and then try to build something out of that right there to resolve the action. I've thought about this. it seems like a thing that could work, but yeah, it also kind of feels like it could be a bit of a slog. You were also thinking about... Oh, that was part of the reason you went with blackjack? Yeah. You were also thinking about straight poker hands that you get a number of cards based on your stat and then make a hand from there, much more like Balatro. Yeah, like... I've thought about this. I think there is a resolution mechanic in there somewhere that could work. The problem is going to be with a deck of cards. Always, checks just feel like they take too long, is kind of where I'm at. Maybe the deck is already thinned out. Maybe remove face cards and then add skills or to cut or double. That's the thing, like, right? So, like, if every player has a deck of cards in their hand, that defines the different classes. So it was like, it could be easier for a rogue to make straights. Okay, so then we cut out, like, the rogue is going to cut out probably, like, aces. They're probably going to cut out, like, 2s, 3s, 4s, right? They're mostly going to focus on that, like, queen, jack, 10, 9, 8, that kind of mid-range, right? But yeah, like, that's kind of what I was thinking there. Thank you regardless for the feedback. Oh, yeah, no, totally. Like, yeah, take this all. Like I said, I think there's an interesting idea happening in here. But I do think that... It's going to be the time for the check. That the time for the check is the thing that I keep coming back to and thinking, I don't really know. I don't really know how I feel about that. But this is all very interesting. If you miss 4 or more, failure with consequences exceeding 21. So that a bust is always like a critical failure. You kept pushing your luck and then it went bam. Ooh, okay. If you miss 4 or more, so you come in under 4, partial success. Okay, so you've gone with the gradient instead of binary success here. And that's going to be some interpretation that... Oh, wait, hold up. When the Oracle describes a new scene that has a potential for conflict or negative outcome, they will draw a 3-card spread row in front of them, and this will set the difficulty in the primary attribute used. The first card revealed is going to be what type of conflict, physical or mental, and the first number of the difficulty, the challenge, the flop. The second card will be the consequence of failure, the turn, and the third card reveal will finalize the difficulty of the scene. Okay, yeah, flop, turn, river. Thank you. Each player draws 1 card, and the highest card goes first. This card will be used as the base for any action resolutions. Again, I think that this could work, but like I said, it's going to always come back to the same idea of, like, how much of it are we playing of this card game battler thing versus how much are we, like, kind of pushing forward with a role-playing game, right? And I like this resolution mechanic. I mean, I've even tried to make a game that was like, I've talked about it here on stream. I wanted to make Vagabond also work with a deck of cards because I could see the magic of it kind of working. But it keeps going back to this idea of I think the checks are just going to take too long. You know? You're not going to go on a mad hyperfixation with making your own card-based system. So if the target was at 18 and you stopped at 14, it would be 4 or more. Yeah. Right? Match or exceed target is a success. Gotcha. Okay, so I can see how this works. I can see that there is a process that leads to the intended result, right? But the thing is, I think that the process has a little bit of a hiccup here. And I would love to see a version of this represented even cleaner, where it's not like this is a whole lot of reading. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about, you could put this on a single page. You could. You could get this on a single page. It would just be a little bit of layout work. But yeah, no. Thank you for submitting this. This is really cool. I do think that the idea of it being blackjack rather than poker is pretty interesting. And I do think that there is a resolution mechanic in here that you could have function. But like I was just kind of running into with like if it's relying on a lot of interpretation, I would still probably like to see some guidelines for how that interpretation works out. That's kind of where I'm at. You just got to hear what's being reviewed. Cartomancers by Matthew Rustin. Rusted. But yeah, thank you for submitting. I think this is a cool idea. Like I said, I think you have an interesting resolution mechanic. It just needs to operate a little bit more like boom, right? Yeah, keep picking at it for sure. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think you do have an idea. Keep picking at it, keep working on it, and try to refine it down is where I'm at. I think with some decent layout work, this could be on one page. And then you have plenty of territory to get like a little bit more flowery with the later game. Yeah. So let's take a look at... This is one I think Hisky submitted. Layout is your bane at the moment. I'm trying to get some templates and stuff out there. So maybe that'll help. But yeah. Thank you for submitting. All right, so Hisky submitted this. And it looks to be a Vagabond hack. More based around a military fantasy. Which was not a genre I was thinking that this game would ever kind of go to. But let me see here. Vest slots are pockets on your tactical vest. When you use a vest slot, you magically procure one ordnance. The ordnance does not magically appear. It was already in your pocket. Okay, so very blades in the dark. This mechanic is a compromise between realism and convenience so that you don't have to prepare. Okay, vest slots are fresh on a rest. Vest slots can be used at will, but only once per turn. Ordnance is kind of alchemical items. They have been balanced to equal a spell of approximately 8 mana. Okay. So you're putting in designer commentary right here. I would save this for later. Ben Milton also puts in designer commentary on like Knave 2nd edition. So like I would move this later on because it's like just let it kind of speak for itself. Give me the mechanic oomph right here, right? 30-foot tripwire explodes in a 30-foot cone, 36 damage if triggered. Damn, are claymores that like powerful? I mean, the only exposure I've ever had to them was Call of Duty, so I don't really know. But it always felt like this was like if you don't walk in the like 10 feet in front of a claymore, it doesn't go off. But if they're literally like 30 feet, dude, that is crazy huge. Causes blinded for 1 round. Okay. Explodes in a 15-foot sphere, 36 damage. Creates a 30-foot sphere of fog spell for 36 rounds. Okay, so it's our CD6 rounds. This is like how do I put this? This feels like more of an inventory manager, and they were nerfed in Call of Duty. They were much stronger in real life. What? Hold up. I don't want to look up a claymore going off on somebody. A live claymore.
I'll say it's your turn. You'll pull this out. Claymore,
okay.
Claymore.
Hang on. This is what they're like when they go off in real life.
Put your finger in here as you're saying it. Push, twist.
Okay. Da, 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 da. All right. Just set the thing off. Thank you, YouTube, for putting these obnoxious goddamn cards up here. I couldn't even see the mine. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be within 30 feet of that. That's for sure. Am I actually giving consultation on independent TTRPG, or is this like user submitted? It's both. You can turn off cards by turning off closed captions. Wait, really? No shit. God, well, okay. That's an alchemical fireball. That's a big boy. Okay. This is like a resource. A spell of approximately 8 mana that you can kind of just tap into with these vest slots. I'd be curious about how many you had. At least on this third-party YouTube app you're using, you can. Okay. Explodes in a 15-foot sphere for 36 damage. Creates a 30-foot sphere of fog spell for 66 rounds. Okay, daze for 1 round. Yeah. Acts as a ranged weapon with a damage die of 1. On a hit, paralyzed for 1 round, single use. Yep. Cool. Okay. So the sniper, eliminate single targets at long range really quickly and discreetly. Attack, backlight. Okay. Keystone awareness, complexity 3. Okay, so I'm going to assume that the action economy in this is going to be the same that it is in Vagabond. Gain the following benefit. Your attacks with firearms perform a scene task to gain the following benefits. Your attacks with firearms on targets within near are hindered. Attacks outside of that range are favored. You may remove this benefit by performing this scene task again. Oh, you're adding or removing a scope. Oh. Okay. You gain the marksmanship perk. Further, you may skip your move to gain an additional die size increase for that turn up to a d12. That's an interesting use of that. Yeah, I like that idea. That's very fun. Vest slot, you gain 1 vest slot. You get an additional 1 at every levels hereafter. Okay, so they start with 0. And then the vest slots are some... Okay. This is like once per day you can pop off this thing that like... Okay, so this, the way I kind of look at this is like... It's like military training where like as you rise in rank... I would even go with like rank, right? Yeah. You're late. What game is this? It looks like it says Military Dungeon. Is this a 5e supplement or something else? This is a hack for the game I wrote called Vagabond. Heavy rifling. Your firearm attacks outside a near range pierce through the first target and hit a second target along the trajectory for half damage. Okay. Yeah, I think this is usually defined as stopping power. It'll go through an object and continue moving forward after that. Like, that's typically what I think of whenever I'm thinking of, like... and again, maybe it's, like, Modern Warfare brained kind of a thing, but yeah. I played way too much Black Ops whenever I was, like, in my early 20s. You'd like to submit a rules doc you've been testing out. Where can you submit? It's in my Discord. Be sure it's under 1,000 words, because I'm not going to go through something that's going to take up 4 hours of stream. 6th level attacks you don't make with fire... Okay, attacks you make with firearms don't make any sound. Armor pierce. This feels like this could be an item. Yeah, I would like to feel like... You mean Vagabond by Land of the Blind? That's me. There's a logo right there. You submitted to the Patreon form. Should you submit to the Discord instead? Yes, please. I didn't get enough people responding to the Patreon form. But yeah, if you submit over there, CB, I'll take a look at it. And by the way, thank you so much for the support on Patreon. Some of these feel like they could be items instead of classes. That's kind of where I'm leaning. Your firearm attacks ignore up to 2 armor. Okay. See, this feels more like a class feature, right? If they ignore up to 2 armor, I almost feel like for me, I would love to see this as like the crit fisher. Like, to me, that's a sniper, right? I tried to make the... I almost wanted to make the gunslinger in Vagabond feel like the barbarian of ranged attacks, and the hunter to feel like the sniper, right? Where it was like easier for them to crit fish all the time, you know? To self-destruct? Oh, destruct? Probably. Heavy metal, your heavy rifling attacks pierce infinitely, dealing half damage to all secondary targets. So it's like a line cleave. Okay. Yeah, this does feel like a natural kind of improvement. But this is the thing, I think with this genre, a lot of this does feel like these could be items, right? And I don't really know that I feel the archetype totally shining through right here with the sniper. I'll take a look. Kind of at like, okay, recon, summon drone. Okay, the key set's awareness, so summon drone. Wielder flying drone is a shift task with it. Yeah, a lot of this does just kind of feel like they're items, right? And I would try to focus this in on how it feels to be okay, so like a scout. Yeah, scout targets and perform covert actions. How it would feel to feel like a scout. And if, rather than they get this drone they can use, whenever you use drones, right, and then push them over towards, now you have a unique ordnance that they're going to go use, right? So, like, if they use the drone ordnance, then they get perks to doing that, right? Not necessarily that, like, here's the item. This is kind of always a problem I have with item-based character classes, is like, if you don't always have the item on you, you don't have a class, right? So, I think with this, is like, this is an item that I would kind of like push over toward the idea of this should be one of your ordnance options, and the class should be better at using that ordnance, or they get the ordnance once a day for free, that kind of a thing. You get the ambusher perk, your AI drone benefits from this perk as well. It could be like any drone ordnances benefit from this perk as well. Vest slot, you gain a vest slot. Since it seems like everybody's getting this right here, vest slot, right? It's not at second level, but like, yeah, just better at using the thing. Yeah. You watched through the feedback to your submission. Thanks for taking. Oh yeah, no, totally. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, start smaller. I think starting smaller would be like a really good way for you to build up. The vest slots kicking in here. This almost feels like something that should be a stat rather than something granted by the class. But maybe there's a class that does get you a vest slot as one of its perks, you know? Kind of where I was thinking about with that. You may call in a drone strike as a scene task to a position you can see. With a position, the position is struck with an air-to-land missile that deals 8d6 damage in a 30-foot circle. This missile does not need an attack check. Again, this does feel a lot like this is an item, right? And I would rather it feel more general, especially with Vagabond, because like the more specific it gets, I think the wordier the features get. The mounted gun, D4, D8, D12 later on. Provides vision of its surroundings to its summoner. Okay. Yeah, I would try to try to bring the focus back in on making the character better rather than improvements to the item, right? Your drone strike summons up to 10 simultaneous strikes as long as the affected areas don't overlap. Right here, right? 10 simultaneous strikes as long as the affected areas don't overlap. So 8d6 to 10 different areas that you have to call in as a scene task. Yeah, these feel more like big options they might be allowed to do rather than class features. This is both for damage and range. I mean, sure, but like if you're talking about something that is like, hey, this is a big military like kind of a deal. Look, if it's you call in a scene task for that location and it does it, okay, you know, yeah. But yeah, I keep seeing this thought process go through of like, I think I would prefer to see these as items or options of like, this is a special perk that you get. Triangle Agency does something really similar. I'm going to be doing a video on that one, but I did a read-through of it, and there's like certain options that you get with your anomaly that like, oh, super funny that like anomaly came on music. Anyways, so Triangle Agency kind of does this thing where like, you know, you can use these, but like shit can go wrong. Because of the way that Triangle Agency's resolution mechanic works, and gets very weird later on, I think it works out for them, because it still feels like your character is doing these things, whereas this kind of feels like these are items you get that keep getting better, right? Pyro, so I would think, you know, hey, you're better off with like flamethrowers, napalm, that kind of thing. You can cast a burn spell with and only with cone and range deliveries using range. Instead of mana, you use fuel to cast this spell. Maximum fuel is equal to... This needs to become a hack, right? And I mean like a hack. Like, if you like Vagabond's resolution mechanics and you like kind of what all was going on with that, I would try to pull it away from the burn spell. This idea of mixing like modern military with magic might be kind of cool, but this now kind of feels like there's the mechanic right there to grab, and therein, like, go refer to this thing over here in a game with a different genre, right? Whereas you could say a flamethrower is one of your ordinances. And now, if they start out earlier on with, like, even their weapons are a part of their ordinance, they're going to have to worry a little bit about, like, how they prioritize all this. The big expendables are their grenades, right? So, like, that can be kind of interesting. Some of the guys that are demolitioners, you're better with explosives. Some of the guys that are snipers, hey, you getting the unique mechanic in here, like armor pierce, might just straight up pull, the roll 2d20s, like getting the advantage thing, right? Considering tactical breach wizards is a thing, tactical military stuff with magic is very cool as an aesthetic. I have never heard of that, and I'm going to look that up after this stream. Like, I promise you, I'm going to look that up. That sounds hilarious. You gain a vest slot, feel the burn, vehement magic perk. Okay, so exploding dice, if I'm remembering right. Yeah, whenever they explode, the effect of the spell is applied. Okay. Fireproof, you're immune to fire in the burning status. Okay. Vest slot. You gain a vest slot. This is probably too early for this. Because you got all these guys wanting to have a vest slot kick in right around this time, I might try to unify that to where it's all coming online at second, and then everybody has a number of vest slots equal to their level divided by XYZ kind of thing, right? You love Tactical Breach Wizards? Wait, is this a video game? Wait, it's a video game? Or is it a TTRPG? Tactical Breach Wizards? It's a video game. What? Oh god. This is a video game? Jesus.
Hi, I'm Tom. This is Tactical Breach Wizards. Me and a small team have been working on this for about 6.5 years now.
Oh, it's like an XCOM thing.
As of today, it's done. It's out. You can buy it. In fact, please do, because we spent 6.5 years on it, and now we really need it to sell.
Yeah, it feels like XCOM in a good way. Yeah.
It's a turn-based tactics game where you have a small team of wizards in Kevlar and modern-day tactical gear. It's about finding ways to combine their spells to solve the combat encounters you're in. And the way we enable you to do that is we let you rewind your turn as many times as you like. So rather than just sitting there and asking yourself, how does this ability work, just try using it and see what happens. And if you're stuck and you can't see a good solution to the problem you're facing, try a bad solution. It probably won't work, but if you try it, you might realize, oh, if I set a predictive bolt up in advance and then use Jen's chain shock to push somebody into it, that's a way we can take out 2 people with 1 action. Maybe if I now rewind and use that somewhere else, there's actually a way to clear this whole room in 1 turn. So basically it's a game that helps you have clever ideas even if you have no clever ideas. As mentioned, we have kind of a lot riding on this now, and the thing that's going to make or break us is how well it does in launch week. So we're doing the usual launch discount, it's 10% off this week, but we also wanted to do something extra to thank the people who support us at launch. So we put together a little pack of outfits. They're called the WizTac set, and they look like this. We've got a kind of feature that we didn't go for in the main game. Purely cosmetic, like all the other outfits in the game. And you get these if you buy the game in launch week. If you miss launch week, they'll...
Hey, they got a Vanguard? They got a fucking Vanguard? What? What? Okay. Yeah, if this hack became that, I'd be so down to play it. Yeah, I'd love to see like modern military mixed with yeah, that could be really funny. That's very cool. Okay. Yeah, I think with this, like, I would rather see it as like a full-on blown hack. And I'd like to see like some of the stuff that you have programmed in here as like class features, moving that over into them being different ordinances, and then you're customizing your loadout to do XYZ thing. But like your rank as a pyro gets you other perks, right? Like, and let's focus on how you could blow out that modularity rather than restricting it to sniper. You're always going to be using a sniper rifle, like that is your thing. Okay, well, but like maybe If they don't, there could be another thing in an ordinance that kicks in for that. Or like, what if somebody really does want to snipe, or like that's their only option right now? Maybe the recon could still kind of, like they still have options to do that. I like the idea. I would have personally, it's like I hadn't really thought of Vagabond doing this. This is I'm glad to see that like people are doing weird shit with it. Yeah, man, thanks for submitting. I am interested to see where you go with it from here. But yeah, I'd recommend moving these out to like the ordnance idea, and then maybe giving them like their loadout that they could have, perhaps the solution is classless with a talent tree like Borderlands. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Maybe like the way that you define it is not so much with a set class, right? Maybe it's more so that like you can pick up the perks like just kind of as you design them, throughout the game. Yeah, I dig it. Thanks so much, Hisky. This is this is fun to see. All right, so the other two that we have right now, the Kinesist, maybe. Let me see here, and I think this was submitted by Strider. Yeah, oops, all perks. Yeah. Star Wars Saga is also a template if you want to keep the classes. Ah, okay. Well, there you go. Okay. Kinesist. All right. So conduits of elemental energy, Kinesis bend primordial forces through movement and martial arts. Alex Louis Armstrong from Full Metal Alchemist, Greninja from Pokemon, Thor, and Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Boy, that's a list. So you have lightning, water, fire. I don't know Full Metal Alchemist well enough to say what. Wasn't Armstrong just like the big muscly pretty dude? Right? You love being right. I know, yeah, the list is like, what? Kinesis are mid-lane damage dealers with limited damage type versatility. Build up mana by fighting, then unleash it as powerful elemental blasts. Okay, so it's kind of like a monk. Okay, Armstrong did earth magic. Oh, okay. He throws a shit ton of rocks. That's... Okay. Mysticism, finesse, and two of your choice from either brawn, detect, medicine, sneak, or survival. Okay. So we have kind of the Avatar-esque elemental kind of a character, right? He shot earth spikes out of whatever his punches. That's funny. Okay. Rocks in the shapes of arrowheads and fish type shit. That's hilarious. Yeah, I was not familiar with that on FMA. Okay. Elemental is blazing strikes. Okay, so spells. You gain the Gish perk. You can cast spells using mysticism. You learn one spell. You learn another spell every 3 Kinesis levels afterward. Or hereafter. You gain 1 mana when you hit with an attack, and the highest amount of mana you can gain or spend to cast a spell is equal to your Kinesis level. You lose all unspent mana at the end of a scene. I like this idea because it really wants you to like keep that up in combat. However, we do have Bag of Rats happening. Even if it's like, yeah, Bag of Rats is in here. And I mean, I guess you could say whenever you hit an enemy with an attack, but the fact that it only lasts for the scene, I think people are just going to, like, if it's not an enemy, right, they're just going to start punching the ground and say that, like, they're going to build up infinite mana. It's a lot of tracking. Yeah, that too. The flexibility is interesting. But I feel like this is going to nuke way too quick. Like, if you're thinking about it pacing as like 1 mana per turn, you might just give that to them. Why does punching the ground feel on theme, though? I mean, sure, but like, I think you can still do that and it not be infinitely regenerating. Might need more like a stable momentum mechanic. I guess I'm not familiar with that. Blazing Strikes, when you imbue a weapon, you can use a D4 if the damage was previously lower. its reach increases by 10 feet, and your melee attacks aren't hindered by dual wielding. You can use a d4 if the damage was previously lower. So this is you're imbuing your fists, okay? Your melee attacks aren't hindered by dual wielding. Okay. Do you want this to punch? Because, like, if you want it to punch, that got changed. It could read that you spend half your speed rather than skip your move. Wait, what? If you do a thing repetitive, it is increased. That is momentum mechanics. Oh, okay. So, like, if you continue to attack, you continue getting this, like, resource. The idea of it is, like, punching with elements. Oh, no. Oh, no. Onyx is right. Yeah, that did get changed. When you roll the highest value on a damage die with an imbued weapon, you can apply the spell's effect to the target without spending mana. Okay. That's interesting. I like the idea of that. Yeah, instead of exploding, it does the, like, oomph. It automatically applies the effect. That's cool. Like, you punch in a fireball extends out of that. Yeah, but it's saying... See how it's saying melee attacks? So, like... I can see how you want that to work. Yeah, like attacks with melee weapons or weapons with a brawling property might be the way to go. Wake Rider. Moving through areas affected by your spells only costs you and your allies half the normal speed. Moving through areas affected by your spells only costs you and your allies half the normal speed. So I think this is you trying to make you ignore difficult terrain. If that's the case, I would make this say you and your allies ignore difficult terrain created by your spells. If that's what you were trying to do. Because this feels like an override in a way. It's less you ignore difficult terrain and more you creating the opposite of difficult terrain. Moving through areas affected by your spells only costs you and your allies half the normal speed. Okay, then what it feels like is you're hiding a mechanic that you want this to do inside of this. And I would rather see it express really plainly what you intend for that to do. Because this feels like this is a hidden kind of thing, right? So you move twice as fast. So if you were to make an area effect that was like burning fire, you and your allies would move through the burning fire twice as fast? Or like this like circle of confusion or something like that? Yeah. I think that the God, how do I put this? I think the way that I would put this is like this feels like this wants to give you a perk that isn't super apparent, right? And because it doesn't feel really apparent, it feels like it's kind of confusing as to how it negotiates, like how it would actually negotiate itself in play. I would try to make it really apparent. Maybe start out really plainly with like just straight up type out what you want it to do and then work backwards to figure out how you can express that in a way that kind of puts it right on the page instead of kind of reading between the lines. So, like, moving through areas affected by your spells only costs you and your allies half the normal speed. I immediately went to, like, difficult terrain, but that feels like that's not the intent. And it feels like if the intent is for you to, like, double your speed while they're moving through your area of effect stuff. So for me to move 5 feet, I spend 2.5 feet. And then especially with it being imbued, right? And then I guess you can imbue it, you create this up here that gets you the effect to where you can eventually make this down here. I don't really know that I'm seeing how this works. Like, and what I mean is, like, not just the mechanic here, but how are they supposed to eventually get the mana to do this mechanic down here, right? It's kind of where I'm at with that. Awakening, when combat starts and you have no mana, you can gain mana equal to half your Kinetist level, round up. Okay, so they get 2 at the start of combat. All unspent mana at the end of the scene. Okay. You might even say, like, all unspent mana from this class at the end of a scene. Because now I can see how that kind of kicks in right here. If you pass a save against an attacker cast, the next cast check you make... Okay, pass a save. The next cast check you make before the end of your next turn is favored. Okay. When you gain 1 mana when you succeed on a reflex save. Okay. Primordial actualization. If you succeed on an attack check or reflex save, you gain 1d4 mana instead of 1. Okay. I like the idea of this right in here, where it does feel like more of the actions that are having to happen passively is like... I like that more of an idea. Whereas, like, the world has to subject you to these things for you to get the benefits, rather than you punch the ground and now you get mana, right? Where do we submit our stuff for consults? It is in the Indestructoboy Designosphere Discord. The trouble trying to negotiate the entire party to get into it. Maybe? Hang on. Oh, man. I think if you were to give them an improvement to their speed right here, people are going to feel that a lot more presently than, like, trying to make this work. And even if, like, I like this idea right here, evasive movement. Okay, so this is channeling the idea of, like, the kind of monkish blend with it. So that should probably kick online way earlier. You gain 1 mana in the following ways. Like, you could do that here in their first level. You gain 1 mana whenever you, maybe you could say hit with an attack. I still think it needs to be, like, hitting an enemy. It needs to be in a way where it's like, this needs to be not a power that you can just manipulate that easily. It's a power that you, like, take in and adapt and, like, rechannel, right? That feels a bit more, like, monkish to me. For the first level implies that you land an attack without making a check. So for first level, it implies that you land an attack without making a check. Wait, where? You were originally thinking about doing that, but you were worried about giving them too much. Here's my recommendation, because I keep seeing this a lot, especially from people that are, like, going over to the OSR from 5th edition. Like, start at, like, here's the deal. If you're worried about the buy-in before you even really make the thing, I would start by throwing the exciting ideas on the page, right? Start that first, and then figure out how to make that work. Like, literally, it's like you throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, kind of a deal. Because if you're constantly kind of writing to, like, this imagined person on Reddit who's going to yell at you because you wrote something that they think is imbalanced or whatever, and no one knows who the fuck that guy is, you're not going to really be able to get the exciting ideas out there, right? Just don't give them mana to start with. Make them have to attack someone for it. I mean, attacking, or, you know, like, whenever you hit an enemy with an attack, or like the momentum thing that you have in here, this is fun. I like the idea, right? Max mana, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I might try to stick with a more conventional Gish kind of build up in here, like what we've tested. I don't mind the idea of... Okay, so you do have the way that they can't... They're not going to nuke this real quick, because they're restricted by how much mana they could have. God, yeah, they start really low. Maybe in that case it might be okay. Succeeding on the reflex save. I think it's succeeding on the reflex save, and there is a magic in here where it's like this is kicking online for you at first level. The idea is that you manage resources over the course of the fight rather than over the course of the day. So that's the deal, though, is like you're still managing a resource, right? Vagabond's an action game. I would like for people to not feel like they're doing their taxes whenever they're playing the game. And a part of that is like if they feel like there's something that's moving around a lot on their character sheet like this. For some people that might be fun. I like to think that like instead of that, we need to like keep the game moving forward, right? So I'm trying to think of ways in which like you can still get the idea across, but not have to track, right? Tracking is like, that's the big deal. Tracking is like the enemy in Vagabond design. You want to try to reduce that wherever you can. And typically I found that people really like it a lot more whenever I see a feature that has some tracking and I go like, let's figure out how we can make that go infinite and not break the game in half, right? If we have an idea that people like, but the worry is that, yeah, it's just not really fun to do all the math in the middle of it. Okay, then I'm going to try to get rid of that, you know? Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on this. I think you can move this up way earlier. This feels fine. I didn't think this was more tracking than something like the Gunslinger's crit threshold. Yeah, I mean, maybe. But that also resets real quick. Like, hey, if you miss with the attack, okay, we're back up to 20, right? And this feels like this is opening something that could be gamed rather than something that's incentivizing you to, like, keep getting aggressive, right? Like, I really tried to follow the Bloodborne mindset whenever it came to design, like, on the Gunslinger. I liked a lot of what Heavy Arms was doing with it. Like, I guess history on that. It started out as a port to Vagabond by Heavy Arms Gunslinger. And with Vagabond, I tried to keep pressing it forward as a, like, this is supposed to be aggressive. And that's why there were features that were like, it just automatically sets to your lowest threshold, right? Boom. Immediately, it's like, that's at the lowest crit range right there. Awesome. Like, okay, so now we don't really have to track because now it just instantly hits the bottom. When you cast a spell with a damage base, you can cast it if you had spent mana equal to half your Kinetist level round up. It could be something like that. But yeah. Like an overheat system mechanic, once you hit a certain mana threshold, you do one big burst to a foe or environment. Maybe. I do think that people are going to want the modularity and the control. So, yeah. Finding the core gameplay loop that really clicks online for it, that I think doesn't involve all the tracking that this one does, is going to be your next big step. I do like the ideas. Because, like, you're already having a thing in here that's, like, you gain mana, right? Like, so you're kind of doing that, like, based off the Gunslinger. Yeah, I think that you do definitely have the interesting ideas. I would just move some of these around to where the features feel like they are clicking on for you a little bit earlier, and it's a little bit cleaner, is kind of where I'm at with that. But I like this idea of the mana regeneration based off of situational effects that happen. And how would this work with perks that get you mana? Right? So if you were to take a perk like, what was it, like not meta magic, I think it's just like secret of mana. So like if all the mana that you have resets at the end of a scene, it should definitely say from this class. But like if you get other perks that affect the way that the mana is working, I'd be worried about a class that does the refresh in a totally different way. You want it to feel closer to a fighting game super meter in terms of resource. Yeah, like you might be able to chain that, especially because they're dual wielding over here. You hit with 2 of the attacks, boom, boom, and then like a third thing pops off, right? Hell, if you did that, like this doesn't really feel like a capstone. This feels like their 8th level. This feels more like a natural progression of what that would be. Yeah, when you hit an enemy with an attack or pass a reflex save provoked by an enemy, you gain 1d4 mana. You could kick that online at 4th level, where you see they have Awakening, right? This is okay, but this feels almost like a 5e feature that's apologizing for something that you did earlier on with the mechanic. So instead of apologizing for it, I'd say move this down here to 4th, because they could potentially fill their mana, like, boom, 1 good hit, awesome. The natural progression of that is going to be to get it up to a D6 at 6th level. I think that's probably going to ramp it too hard. You might just do a D4 and then a D6 at 8th level, move evasive movement up into their 1st level, and then figure out something different for their capstone. You know? Like, that's kind of where I'm at with that. You were trying to think of a new capstone. Yeah, like, Primordial Actualization would be a great band name. We are Primordial Actualization. I don't even know what they would sound like. Probably like Nordic death metal with random explosions and wave sounds in the background, maybe. Snow, thunder, that kind of deal, maybe. Yeah. Was there anything specific that you wanted me to talk about before I move on to the next one? Like, if there was a certain point you wanted me to hit real quick? Because you can charge up before a battle. Nah, no one wants to play that way. No one wants to do that, because it's just like, oh yeah, let me go over here and... Ha! Okay, well the goblins heard you now. Yeah, imagine it's just like, oh, Stinkfoot, what'd you do today? Well, I heard, I don't know, I was kind of patrolling outside, and then suddenly they were, and I don't know, I tried to get a campfire going, and wait, do you hear that? Like, what the fuck? So your issue is too much tracking? Your issue is too much tracking rather than too much mana? Kind of, yeah. It's also like the flexible, like, if this number is going to continue to move around all the time, that doesn't really, like, because I think it's because it's a resource and not because it's, like the crit threshold, right? Because it's specifically a resource here, and not because we're talking about the crit threshold, is where I feel like this is not fun tracking, if that makes sense, right? Like, that's kind of where my thought on that was. But maybe there's something in there that'll really click for it, you know? I guess that's where my mind's at. Yeah. But I think that you do have, like, the start of an interesting gameplay loop going on. You think it would be better if you had to spend it all at once? I do think people like the ability to control it. But I will say, if you were like, whenever you spend it, you have to spend all the mana that you have contained in that casting of the spell. That is cool. I do think that you would feel like you are growing in power that way. But I do think later on, Yeah, then the dice is necessary at that point. Yeah, then this becomes the kind of thing that I'm like, this has to be your core. You start it at 1. And then whenever they hit 4th level, make it a D4. Whenever they hit at 8th level, make it a D6. Right? I mean, hell, and then a really easy capstone is like your primordial you know what I mean. That die explodes. You can just suddenly get full up with mana. You know, right? Yeah, I think that's the cinema of it. And have more options to gain it. Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I simultaneously feel like there's, like, some things I'm a little bit worried about the fiddliness with. And then I'm also, like, I just don't really think that this is going to keep up. But I do think that if you started the ramp earlier, I think it's going to be better. Is the idea that you can reach max in 1 turn? I mean, I would hope. Because, like, sorcerers over there throwing in, like, fucking 36 mana into a spell. You know, I mean, they look like a twig afterwards, but, like, you know, yeah, like, if the sorcerer is going to nuke, like, that's the deal. Is like, I think if you're looking at all the capstones in Vagabond, sorcerers is, like, the most, like, holy shit, what, right? Like, that is the most, like, big blast cinema of, like, the features that I've written for the game. And if everything else is kind of just getting, like, you regain 1 d4 mana instead of 1, this should have started ramping for you way earlier, is kind of where I'm at with that. This should have started at, like, 4th level. Especially because if this is only going to be triggering in a combat, awesome. Make it be to where, like, you're getting the perks for, like, doing that in a combat. I also think that this one, because we're, like, all tied into the elements, should have gotten something of a defensive boost against, like, fire, cold, and shock damage, like, pretty early on. Yeah, because, like, this and Druid, I know that you're probably worried about, like, yeah, but I don't want it to rub up against that. Let it rub. Let them rub. Like, that's fine. The theme is hitting, you know. Could potentially not even have to have a max mana if you go that route and make it so you'd have to spin it that turn or something. Maybe. But yeah, if it's like the regenerating die. I mean, if you just did a deal where it was like, if you hit with 2 attacks on a turn, like, you can take a third action, but that third action can only be used to cast a spell and spend all of your mana on a turn. Is like the kind of thing that I think would be capstone worthy. All the mana you regained you gained from your action that turn or something like that. Yeah. I think that there's an interesting little loop in here. I think that there is. Countdown die? For what? Regaining mana? No. I like this. I like this as a, like, aha, I get more of this stuff. Cool. That would be a cool capstone. Remove the max mana limit. Maybe. Yeah, and if it's like... Honestly, if it's like... You get to a point where... The mana from that thing is like a die. This is kind of cool, right? Because it doesn't really involve tracking anymore. Like, you hit with both attacks. Alright, sweet. I get to roll a d10. And I can spend Okay, I got 10 mana. Holy shit. I got 10 mana that I can spend to cast a spell right now. Boom. Like, that's big. That's huge. You thought about something giving them resistances to spells that they knew, but I thought that might be too niche. Yeah, you know. You just have D10 mana to spend at the end of the turn. Yeah, like no tracking then. Yep. Yeah, you got your tracker right here. It's the die you just rolled, right? I like that idea. I think you could have something cool like that, you know? You might have to fight people to gain power is a good flavor. Yeah. Hell, you might even do it like... I wouldn't say the damage dealt. That's pretty easy to cheese in some ways. If the die was set, where it was like your imbued weapons deal a d4, and it keeps scaling up, and then the refresh is equal to the die that's dealt here, Now you've got your resources and your offenses scaling together, which could feel really cool. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that right now, right? You kind of want them to stick with mostly finesse weapons. I mean, if that's the case, I would try to lean into that really hard. I would try to make that really apparent. But also, like, people want it to... I mean, if you listed Armstrong and Thor as two of your iconics, people are going to want to build a muscly kinesist, whatever, right? Like, if you're going to say, like, well, I really want Louis Armstrong, but, like, I want him to only use finesse weapons. That's not really, like, what people are going to anticipate with it, right? And then maybe it resets when you go a turn without attacking or dodging. Maybe? Or small weapons, I should say. I like, that's not really the thing that I think to me stuck out as a thing that needed to be, like, addressed, right? The thing that stuck out to me was just, like, this resource regenerator. Like, you have a resource engine, right? This is always a cool thing about a lot of, like, deck builder games, is, like, building your resource engine. How are you going to generate this resource that fuels these other things over here? So, like, I think you have an interesting resource engine kind of an idea happening. I just don't think it's totally crossed the finish line yet, you know? And I think it could kick on a lot earlier. But yeah. But, I mean, I think that you have interesting ideas in here. Like I said, I think the core gameplay loop could kick on a lot earlier, and you could have the regeneration happening a lot sooner, and yeah. Shouldn't be that specific. Probably don't try to grip hold of the weapon's limitations. Yeah, I try to keep it as open as I possibly can. But yeah, man, thanks for submitting. Looking forward to seeing what you do with it in the future. Okay. Did we get, like, way more submissions? No. Okay. Oh, no, we did. Okay, one sec. Okay. King Gizzard Warlock sub. Okay, well, that one's not done yet. This would be... Just goes from heavy arms. Okay. I need to take a look at that. It seems metal. Okay. Spirit Warlock is yours, by the way. Discord and Patreon names are different. Ah, gotcha. It's not okay. All right, so let's look at this one, because this is the Samurai for Vagabond, and this is from Gelopsis. Keep that in mind. It's the system rewards a mechanic, then more people feel the need to use that thing to make it work. Just saying, it's a slippery slope. Yeah. Okay. Ah, we've got one in dark mode. Okay. So, Samurai, person thing, Samurai Jack. Yeah. The Ronin Star Wars. Okay. I would love to see, like, let's talk about your iconics here, right? Samurais. Ooh, okay. So if I'm thinking about ones from video games, one of the, like, iconic samurai I kind of think of is, like, dude from Sekiro, right? Or I think of, like, maybe Auron from Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy X. I think Auron kind of works. You know, you might say Mugen from Samurai Champloo. Jin Sakai from Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, I still need to play that game. God, yeah. But I will say one of the things that you should get in here is traditional wuxia. Yeah, classic samurai movies in there, yeah. Try to find some classic wuxia to throw in here. Because, like, I'm going to say, like, I'm buddies with Daniel Kwan. And I was like, hey, man, you mind checking out this samurai I wrote? And I was like, the references are Samurai Jack and, like, the wife from Kill Bill. He'd be like, what is this honky ass shit you're submitting to me, dude? So, like, I would try to look at some of the original source material, you know, and figure out, like, where you might be able to get some of the, like, pop culture kind of stepping in there, you know? Whenever you see a samurai class, it makes me want to make a cowboy with it, just because there's a pattern of old Western films based on even older Japanese samurai movies. Yep. Part of the, like, I was gonna originally drop a samurai in Vagabond alongside the gunslinger, but I'm gonna save that for the spaghetti grindhouse, and well, figure that out from there. But yeah, yeah, don't say Tom Cruise. Yeah, yeah. Iconic samurai, and there's like no Asian influence on there whatsoever. Yeah, I would try to find wuxia media and like check out some of that before you like, because I think a lot of people that are going to look at it are just going to be like, oh, okay, you know, this is, yeah, some historical references. Yeah, is that a Kill Bill reference? What? Where? What? I will say though, having Kill Bill as a reference in here, like, you know, the wife wouldn't be like a horrible deal. Because it does, I mean, that is like probably one of the more modern representations of samurais. I mean, you know, you might even say like Blue Eye Samurai. But if it's all like very Western, if it's all very Western iconics, I think someone's going to be like, oh yeah, you want to use like a wonton font for the header? Is that like, you know what I mean? Wushu's not samurai though; it's Chinese martial arts fantasy. Well, hey, I'm a white dude in Oklahoma, so I do what I can. All right. For the record, you're thinking of Shambra. Wushu is Chinese martial arts. All right, look, I grew up on goddamn John Wayne. All right, so let's yeah. You're an internet. Hey, what up, Ked? Keyboard cowboy. You can hack the Gibson with the. All right. I get it. There's a lot of white dudes who know a lot about Asian culture in my chat. All right, so yeah. You would add Samurai to Vagabond Grindhouse, Kill Bill came to mind. Yeah, I mean, because like that's the theme though, right? It's Grindhouse, and like the Grindhouse Samurai would be different from like the traditional Eastern media samurai. It's influenced by it, but that influence became something else. I honestly think like for Grindhouse, you want to know like here, the video game that I think is more likely to like let you know the vibe I'm thinking of for Spaghetti Grindhouse. And by the way, this is a game that is like super fucking underrated, and it was from Bethesda. Y'all ever heard of Wet? This shit's insane. I love this video game. This is like Kill Bill the video game. And it's like, if you want to see a dope ass barbarian like samurai chick, dude. What her name was Ruby, right? The main protagonist. What on earth is this, dude? Hang on. How Wet inspired the greatest video game of all time. This is one of those games. Yeah, 2009's Forgotten Shooter. Oh, wait. That's on my desk. Hang on. There we go. Way better than Dry. Dude, this game is insane. I fucking love Wet.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Wet is a game that I've had people requesting I take a look at for years now, and like putting off having to fold up a big pile of wash laundry or take the garbage out It's been sitting on my shelf this entire time with me just trying to ignore it.
This game is so
Thanks
sick.
to yet again another COVID cluster, I finally had the time to sit down and play through this thing.
Here we go.
So what is Wet? Well, I'm so glad you asked. It's a stylish third-person shooter developed by Artificial Mind and Movement in 2009, and published by the gaming industry's favourite punching bag Bethesda, with a main character voiced by Eliza Dushku.
I'm not sure you have it in you.
Dude, this game is dope. If you have not played it, and it's hard to find these days. Actually, here's the deal. If I can get it and actually get it playing on PC, I would 100% play this like on a live stream. Hang on, let me find. It's not on Steam. There's no way. I would have picked it up by now. Every 2000s? What? I really should not have looked up Wet on the Steam storefront. That was my mistake. Wet video game purchase. Where do you find that? Yeah, you can only get it with like the Xbox 360 like pre-run or pre-owned. Dude, that sucks. Yeah, I want it streaming so bad. It was on PlayStation 3. But, like, there's not a computer version of it. We can't get it? In fact, the title is based on me after listening to those voice lines. Yeah, you know. What? Why can't we get it? What? What? Yeah, why? Oh, okay. Yeah, they need to go outside. Hang on a sec. All right, I'll leave you all with that. Let me get some music on, and I will be right back.
Everybody will be dancing and we're feeling it right. Everybody will be dancing and be feeling it right. Everybody will be dancing and we're feeling alright. Everybody will be dancing tonight, doing it right. Everybody will be dancing and we're feeling it right. Everybody will be dancing and be feeling it right. Everybody will be dancing and we're feeling alright. Everybody will be dancing tonight, doing it right. Everybody will be dancing and we're feeling it right. Everybody will be dancing and be feeling it right. Everybody will be dancing and we're feeling alright. Everybody will be dancing tonight, doing it right. Everybody will be dancing and we're feeling it right. Everybody will be dancing and be feeling it right. Everybody will be dancing and we're feeling alright. Everybody will be dancing tonight, doing it right. Everybody will be dancing and we're feeling it right. Everybody will be dancing and be feeling it right. Everybody will be dancing and we're feeling alright. Everybody will be dancing tonight, doing it right. Everybody will be dancing and we're feeling it right. Everybody will will be dancing and be doing it right. Everybody will be dancing when you're feeling alright. Everybody will be dancing tonight, doing it right. Everybody will be dancing.
Let it go all night. Shadows on you, break out into the light. If you do it right, let it go all night. Shadows on you, break out into the light. If you lose your way tonight, that's how you know the magic's right.
Doing it right. Everybody will be dancing and we're feeling it right. Everybody will be dancing and be doing it right. Everybody will be dancing when we're feeling alright. Everybody will be dancing tonight, doing it right. Everybody will be dancing.
Let it go all night. Shadows on you, break out into the light. If you
Everybody will be dancing.
let it go all night. Shadows on you, break out into the light. If you lose your way tonight, that's how you know the magic's right. If you lose your way tonight, that's how you know the magic's right. If you do it right, let it go all night. Shadows on you, break out into the light. If you do it right, let it go all night. Shadows on you, break out into the light. If you do it right, let it go all night. Shadows on you, break out into the light. If you do it right, let it go all night. Shadows on you, break out into the light. If you lose your way tonight, that's how you know the magic's right. If you lose your way tonight, that's how you know the magic's right. If you lose your way tonight, that's how you know the magic's right. If you lose your way tonight, that's how you know the magic's right.
I write to you in poetry with words left on the shelf. Full of dust, you'll know it's me and from nobody else. Grab your seat at the fantasy parade. What I see is all inside my head. I come to you and hopefully I can contain myself. Pulsing blood that flows through me and wants nobody else. See through me and all of my charades. I am not any less afraid. Am I hanging on too tight? Baby, you're my light. Am I hanging on too tight? Baby, you're my light. I never wanna fall away or lose my sight. Am I hanging on too tight? For me, it's just the thought of you that sets it right. Baby, you're my light. I never wanna fall away or lose my sight. Am I hanging on too tight? For me, it's just the thought of you that sets it right. Baby, you're my light. I never wanna fall away or lose my sight.
All right.
For me, it's just the thought of you.
All right, so let's take a look at this samurai. Sorry, I had to split that with a break. Back, hey, loot, loot. All right, so the samurai. Melee or range, detect 3 other from brawl, finesse, leadership, sneaker, survival. Okay. I always like the idea of maybe like a samurai was kind of focused on like finesse as like, you know, since finesse is like keyed in on some of the swords to prevent them from going like, you know, great sword samurai. But like, I don't know, that might be someone's kind of vibe with it. And like the perk to it would be like prevent them from going like shield build and go into just the blade, like dual wielding, like whenever you hold a weapon with a versatile property and the finesse property, the damage dice or XYZ thing or whatever. You gain the patience perk. I can see that as like you adopting the stance. Further, you can choose to instead gain favor on the attack rather than the endurance save the block. The only problem with this is that this would basically just be like, at least as I see it, in the order of operations, someone might just go like, I'm going to hold it, now I'm going to attack, to just give themselves advantage that way. And like, that might work. That might feel like you're adopting the stance. And I'm just curious if that's how I would want it to operate, is kind of my thought. A daito is a Japanese greatsword and was used by samurai. What? Okay, hang on. A daito? Is it just like a big katana? It just looks like a big katana. Unless I'm like not looking at the right thing here. I mean, most samurai also use the Yumi bow. Yeah, I mean, like, I know that there is a precedent for them having, you know, sword and a bow or something. You thought it was an Odachi? Oh, weeb fight! Weeb fight! Weeb fight! So, which is just a large katana. True strike. Okay, funny. You can forgo favor you have on an attack, and if you do, the attack ignores armor. Oh! Okay. That's cool. I like the idea. Yeah, I like this. Flat out ignoring armor compared to ignoring the armor with sneak attack on the rogue. It might need to say something like, yeah, if it would scale. Yeah, that's kind of what, yeah, that's my next thought. It ignores an amount of armor equal to half your samurai level round up is where I would probably go in that direction. But I like the idea. Footwork. When you hold to attack or move, you have a +1 bonus to reflex saves. When you become a 6th level samurai, the bonus is a +2. Okay. Attacks you hold can explode. Okay. You can't be berserk, charmed, or confused or dazed unwillingly. Okay, I can see that for 8th level. When you hold to attack, you can make 2 attacks. Very simple, very clean. I like a lot of the ideas. This would operate. I do think that it could scale right in here. Other than that, I don't really have a whole lot of other notes. It could be if you're trying to reinforce that they should be using blades, you might look at kind of restricting it over in there. like bladed weapons such as like pole blade and all that, because like if we get into using like hammers and mauls, that kind of thing, it might kind of go against the thematic. But like I like this. I honestly don't really have a whole lot of notes. The scaling thing could be interesting. It's kind of where I thought. They learn various weapons with the main weapon during the Warring States period, where the Yari, Spheres, Yumi, and later the Teppo, the matchlock rifles. See, that's my deal. So in the Spaghetti Grindhouse thing, for this kind of an archetype, I was just going to call it the Blade. And because I wanted it to have the, like, I mean, in Wet, Ruby is like dual-wielding pistols and using a samurai sword. I thought that was dope. And I'm like, yeah, I love that. I love that vibe. You even just make it really simple restrictions for what can be, think of as scaling. Yeah. Yeah. I think this is basically, like, this would play well. I think with the scaling could, yeah. This is the thing I love about with like Vagabond classes now. I think people have really caught the art of it being this simple of a package, and it still feels like the features just continue getting better and better with you. Yeah, I dig this. I think that there's a now in the attacks that you hold can explode. Here's where I think you could go with it, is saying that you forgo the favor, yada yada yada. If you forgo the favor on an attack check and it ignores the armor, could be later that you add that favor to the damage if you forgo it, right? You forgo that favor, you add it to the damage, and they get something that's a little bit of an oomph, right? They're already getting the attack ignoring armor, which is eventually going to scale to the point of being equal to ignoring it or an extra damage die. But like, yeah, Weave's ruining it for people who actually like samurais. I don't really have a whole lot of other notes. I like how simple and clean this is. Do you walk away? All right. I don't really know what more to add, because like, other than the scaling, like, this is basically good to go. So yeah, good job. I dig it. I dig what's happening in here. Let's take a look at this other one that I just spoiled. Hunt domain. All right. The hunt. So this is going to be for, I'm assuming, this is for D&D 2024 because it's coming online at 3rd level. Yeah, thanks for submitting it. The hunt is often seen as a sacred act for those within your domain, while some focus on its purpose to protect others or for acquiring food for a community. Others may focus on it as a means of establishing their power over nature to gain wealth or even for the thrill. This has led the gods within this domain to vary, including aka Artemis, Balinor, Baal, Malor, Odin, and Uller. All right. Hey, cool. Like, I don't hear Uller mentioned too much. That's sick. You gain the domain spells. Okay, Alarm, Hunter's Mark, Pass Without Trace, See Invisibility, Clairvoyance, Non-Detection, Greater Invisibility, Locate Creature, Commune with Nature, Hold Monster. Okay, I don't feel any problems in here, but the only thing I'm kind of keeping in mind with D&D 2024 is when did the art come in? What? Or is this another thing? This is another thing. Yeah. I don't really know about interactions currently. I haven't really researched it with Cleric, and I think their Divine Intervention is doing something different now, if I remember right. Like, it's basically the power of a different spell or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. Right off rip, I don't see a big issue. Calling upon the wisdom of your domain, you can use your bonus action to give a creature within 60 feet of you advantage on their next attack roll within a minute. Okay. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier. Cake, that's cake. Easy. As a magic action, you can expend the use of your channel divinity to choose a creature you can see within 30 feet. For the next minute, or until you lose concentration on this feature, the creature loses resistance against a damage type of your choice. If the creature is immune to the chosen damage type, it instead becomes resistance instead. Cool. That's cake. Yeah, magic action, limited uses. I like it. I like it a lot. Extra attack, cool. Eyes of the Hunt. You always have the scrying spell prepared and may cast it without the material component. You can cast it once without a spell slot. Okay. If you target a creature with a scrying that is hidden from divination magic, you instead learn its common name for general location where the creature can see it. Fallen, if this were submitted to something that I was like putting together as a big collab. This is basically done. I don't know what else I would change, right? Like, I really don't know what else I would tweak on this. I think that this is, like, good to go. Like, it's simple. I like the idea of the exposed weakness. This is cake. Without really having, like, deep diving in on, like, D&D 2024 and, like, some of the design quirks of it and everything, I would basically say that, again, if I were doing a collaborative project for, like, some kind of product on the guild or whatever, this would be good to go, in my opinion. Like, yeah, this is, you nailed it, it looks like. Yeah, no, this is sick. If I were still doing D&D 2024 or whatever, I would allow it at my table. You mostly wasn't sure about how you felt on the capstone. You're giving them scrying. This third level is so good right here. Like, this is so fucking good for them that, like, they're going to get this at third and continue to use it throughout the entire campaign. Like, this is a really, really good mechanic. Extra attack is clean, nice, good to go. General location, where it is. The capstone, like, maybe the second paragraph is the thing that you're like, whatever. Always having scrying on is fine. I'm okay with that. Once without a spell slot is good. Hidden from divination magic. General location where the creature is. I would say this, honestly. If you target a creature... Oh, here you go. Here's your capstone. Creatures you target with a scrying spell, you can see until you finish a long rest, as if through... what is it? True Sight? All Sight? Whatever. You can see through invisibility, that kind of thing. Honestly, if you just gave them, here at 17th level, you can see invisible creatures. That already feels really thematic. You give them the scrying spell, but, like, also give them the ability to always see creatures, like, that are invisible. That's dope. Like, yeah. This is simple, good to go. I like it. Good. Like, only notes I have are maybe that capstone could be something slightly different, but the other thing is, okay, so maybe here you have locate creature, right? You have locate creature. They have greater invisibility, so hiding and finding stuff a little bit better. I think generally, other than formatting stuff, this is good to go. It could use a look with just layout kind of stuff, but yeah, it's good. And now we all laugh at Ranger. Yeah. Was there anything specific other than the capstone that you were like, I don't know about this yet? Or, yeah? It was mostly just that, and if the Channel Divinity was too much. Some people might feel like it is, but, like, dude, in all the, like, brewing I've ever done, like, this is fine. I wish that, like, Hunter or Ranger would have gotten something like this. Like, this should be what their Hunter's Mark improvement was, like, later on. You know? Like, this should straight up have been, like, Ranger at, like, 11th level gets a natural improvement like that. Is it True Sight? True Sight. You have True Sight when, yeah, like, you can see invisible creatures as if with True Sight. Because, like, I wouldn't want to give them True Sight whole hog. I think that can be a little bit worrying. But I do think the ability to see creatures as if with True Sight, like, if they go invisible or have some other, I don't know, magical fuckery, like a Displacer Beast thing, you ignore that. Like, okay, cool. That feels more like a hunter than, like, your Hunter's Mark improves to a D10. I still, that just baffles me. Yeah, man, good shit. Like I said, if this were like submitted to a collaborative project that I was managing, this is good to go. Yeah, aces. Variable alpha quick start. First drafting the capstone revolve around true sight and it fell off. Nah, man, go back. I think you're good. Yeah, I would go check that out. If you're even, here's the deal. If you're not in love with this, if this is the thing that you're like, I don't know, that alone should tell you right there, you want something different. So just give it that true sight. Maybe a little bit situational, but yeah, this is good. Bravo, dude. Let me look at Ilaton's variable alpha quick start rules. Okay. Now, okay. Station age. Okay. I'm just getting a skim of the character sheet real quick. Or review realization. Okay, so this is a sci-fi TTRPG. Okay, attributes. I want to see your resolution mechanic real quick. Designed by Luke Oberholzer, is a sci-fi TTRPG about modern people encountering warps in time and space. Players, known as Decryptors, will investigate and explore these anomalies and find out what must be done about them. Okay. 4 attributes. Skills. Okay, and then what they are linked to. Okay, fixation. Designate 1 skill that is your fixation. A flat 8 skill points are added to the skill in question. Okay. Key stats. Health, aura, review, realization. Each attribute represents your life force and ability to incur physical damage. Calculated by your Decryptor's Brawn level +4. Okay, incurred damage points are subtracted from one's health. Once your health is at 0, your character will collapse unconscious. If they incur any further damage points, the character will succumb to their wounds. Aura. Okay, aura is equal to your Decryptor's charm level. Using your aura, you motivate one's performance in a solution check. If you motivate the solution check, your charm's attribute level is added to the total there. Okay. I'm looking at... Okay, assigning these. He says, I need to see... Yeah, here we go. Okay, 2d10. When the player is presented with a task or problem in need of a solution, they will need to roll a solution check. A solution check's result is determined in the following steps. They will roll 2d10 dice. After rolling the 2d10, they will organize the dice into the primary dice and secondary dice. The higher of the 2 rolls is the primary dice, and the lower is the secondary dice. If the dice rolls are equal, proceed to the equation dice roll. Roll your equation dice, 1d10 with 6 addition signs. Okay, so you need a custom die for this. 3 subtraction signs and 1 multiplication sign. And place it between your primary and secondary dice. Add the skill bonuses. So you have a die that adds a modifier of a equation in here. Once all these have been followed, you will have your final calculation for the solution check. Okay, so you have... After rolling the 2d10, they will organize the 2 dice into primary dice and secondary dice. The higher is the primary, and the lower is the secondary. So you have one that could be a multiplier. Okay. If the dice rolls are equal, proceed to the equation dice roll. Roll your equation dice and place it between your primary and secondary dice, and then determine the result. Once all these steps have been followed, you'll have your final calculation for the solution check. So, okay, if the level of difficulty... So I use... I'm trying to intuit something here because I don't think that this is on here just yet. You're here to answer any questions? Okay, so... The level of difficulty is determined by the GM and is communicated before the solution check is attempted. Failure, trivial, fair, difficult. Okay. So, off first blush, I'm not sure which die I'm using for the check. I'm guessing the primary. So that means that, like, if it's the primary one and then I add a modifier equal to one of these skills I have, right? It's a custom die you designed. Okay, so with these in here, immediately. Okay, the first building of the Decryptor, assign each attribute a level you think reflects the Decryptor you'd like to build. You have 8 attribute points to invest across your attributes. Attributes have a minimum level of 1 and a maximum of 6 levels during character creation. Okay, so 1 to 6. Next, fill out your Decryptor's skills. Each attribute has a bracket made up of 4 skills. Each skill point are dependent on the attribute level associated with each bracket of skills. Available skill points are calculated by taking each of the Decryptor's attribute level and multiplying it by 3. You can then fill out each of the skills levels across all 4 brackets. At some point, select your Decryptor's fixation. And that immediately gives it like an oomph, right? How close to done a system core would you say it'd be done enough to do a console? Asking for a friend. So here's the deal. Here, I left this up. 1,000 words or less. If I can grok what's happening with it, I'm looking at the core resolution mechanic. I keep saying this and people still seem to ignore it, and I'm gonna keep saying it again. 1,000 words or less. If it's like, if I can tell it's like a 5,000 word thing, I'ma skip it because I don't want it to take up like 4+ hours where we've got so many people that are asking for help on their stuff. So yeah. If you have something you want it to look at, right? If you have something you want me to look at, let me know. But I'm also like, I need to make sure it's like I can, all killer no filler. Yeah. If you're at the point where you don't know, like you don't know what you would ask, and you're just kind of like fishing to see like, hey, like what should I do? Don't submit it. Don't submit it. Both primary and secondary are used. They're organized like that to make sure that there are no negative numbers rolled. Okay, so if they're both used, how do they add together? You got something cooking, but boy, is it on a slow cooker? I mean, so both dice are used for the check, right? Yeah, let me see. Oh, wait, you already have these made. Oh. Okay. Wow. So like, okay, yeah, they're 3D printed. I think I can see some of the sculpt lines right there. Okay. That's cool. Multiple, is that the multiplication one right there, or is that just another plus sign? Yeah, I'd like to see what the multiplication sign looks like on these to make sure that there's enough of a differentiation between that and the plus sign. Okay, example. A 7 and 3 are rolled. You then roll the equation die and place the roll in between the two. So if it's an addition symbol, you just add the two, meaning that... Right, but it looked like... It looked like the... If the dice rolls are equal, proceed to the equation dice roll. Right, so that only felt like if I rolled a 5 and a 5, then it would add the equation dice roll. But I'm not really getting that the equation dice roll is also thrown in there too, on like all the rolls, right? Or is it not? Like I'm just trying to make sure I have that right. Your future posts will be shorter content, yeah. Yeah, editing it down is going to be it's a big skill that I think separates, like, if you want to know how a lot of homebrewers are able to, like, get, play with their stuff at people's tables, it's because they didn't just throw a lot of ideas on the page. It was edited down to make sure, yeah, we know how this plays out, right? You've been behind on stream for like 30 seconds. No, you're good. I'm just trying to figure out how this role works, right? Because, like, if the equation die roll is thrown in on all of them, then I don't think that last... Then I think what you can do is just nix this last one. And just, like, this is the steps, right? Putting in plain text explanations helps at the front. Yeah. Yeah. Wait. So, yeah, as in it is added on every roll? Like, could you tell me that in a sentence? Like, yes, the equation die is added to every roll, or no, it is only added to rolls where both numbers are the same. So the equation die is factored into every roll. Okay. Okay. Add skill bonuses. Okay. Difficult, exceptional, encyclopedic, enlightened. I would trim this down. You don't need that much of a success gradient. Failure is 0, trivial 1 to 7. I don't think you need this much of a success gradient. Like, realistically, if skills are this rough to get to, they shouldn't even be able to roll for it. This seemed like a thing that a lot of people thought, like, yeah, well, you know, you always succeed on a roll of a 20. If that's the case, then, like, there shouldn't really be a skill check made. If it was that impossible for them to reach that thing, right? This is literally adding in every roll is an equation, though. And it kind of feels like because you don't add... You're adding this in. Like, you'll add the skill thing in there later, after the equation is already calculated. I don't know that I feel the impact of this. If it was like, add the skill to the primary and then multiply it, then I'm thinking like, oh, okay, that's crazy good. But if you remove the multiplication and just make it to where it's either addition or subtraction, and then you're always adding the skill to the primary, you can reduce your numbers on this a lot. Like, I don't think that a difficulty gradient that's this extreme is really necessary, you know? I do think just keeping it down to subtraction and addition is, like, probably my suggestion where I would go with that. You do have, like, the crit, right? Of, like, well, you roll the multiplication. And, like, that's fun. But I think it might run into situations where that multiplication just doesn't really do much of anything for you, and it doesn't feel like a crit. But if you're adding in the skill bonus to the primary die before you do the equation, then it feels like there's still, like, yeah, mult adds a lot of variance to the numbers. Yeah, yeah. If you do 9 and 8, you could get wild result. Yeah, that's the thing I'm kind of thinking of right now is, like, I think that this much of a swing for, like, how much of a variance there is for the success isn't really necessary. Yeah. Maybe get a kitten. You just tightened up your document a whole page on your witch by adjusting the leading on favor text. Yeah, flavor text, yeah. You're playtesting the majority of difficulty checks is only between trivial and exceptional. So then, like, yeah, I would keep it at that, you know. A difficulty of as much as 30, cool. And then keep it down to your addition and subtraction, right? Because the moment you start throwing in the multiplication, this just kind of feels like it goes... The math in this is like, yeah. So if, in all practicality, whenever you're actually playing the game, if all checks are only from failure to exceptional, make it to 0 to 30. You know? 9 minus 8 equals 1. 9 plus 8 equals 17. 9 times 8 is 72. Yeah, like the variance is much. And I don't think that that's necessary. The one time you look at yourself and it's a good time for me, you're hosting a big New Year's party. Don't worry about it, Hisky. The VOD's going to be up. Go be drunk. Or I don't know, what do Finns do for New Year's? Go I don't know, throw a goat off a cliff? I don't know what you guys do. Thanks for the feedback, watching order. Hey, you're welcome, man. I think it's a cool idea. I hadn't really thought of Vagabond doing something like that, so yeah. It might... You were correct that the military thing should be its own hack. Yeah, I feel like it should be. It's 10, 12 a.m. on the 1st here in New Zealand? Dude, no, you guys are over there in like Elfland. Like that's you're a time traveler at that point, okay? It's 3:13 p.m. here. No, you all are in another year. We need to fix this. Or, like, just consider New Zealand to be, like, part of the Lost World or something like that. Yeah, New Zealand is a pocket dimension. You thought they burned down a massive thatch goat? Probably. So I think with your, like, you do have a resolution mechanic in here that I do think has some I do think has some merit, and I can already think of different ways in which classes can like screw around with this right here. But I think by like kind of rethinking your math on like you add the skill bonus in, like without throwing in the multiplication in on there, the multiplication is the one instance in which I think this resolution mechanic feels very odd. And I think if you just reduce the overall bloat of what's happening with the variance in your mathematics here, you're going to have a home run in some way. Because like what, 30, 10 plus 10, so you would get 20, and then 30 being like absolutely insane, so that's relying on your skill to be that high. Yeah, like I think that's a really easy, graceful way to handle that, instead of throwing in the multiplication. You distracted your friends with Jackbox to pop in for a bit. Dude, go be with friends. Finns usually get drunk, not me, though. Yeah, no, dude, go be with friends. I'll catch up with you later. Games can wait. Go play games with friends. You wanted to have a high variable system. There are abilities and gameplay mechanics that can mess with the, what players roll. I still think at 30, it's still a pretty high variable system. But if you just want one, like you just want to have it, that's not the kind of way I think we should really be approaching game design. It needs to have intent, right? And if it's just like, well, I want it to be there, that's just decoration, right? So like, I don't really know what you're achieving with high variance. If you want to have a bigger resolution, use a bigger die, maybe, but like, you know, this might be a case where I'm also like saying, hey, you got to kill a darling, you know, and I think the darling would be your variance here. So the player gets to organize the equation with the parts they get, right? Well, that's the deal. Here. I have another D10 somewhere, right? All right, cool. All right, so we're going to consider the the 0 to be multiplying it, right? Anything below 6 we're gonna call subtract, or multiplying it. Anything below 3 and below is gonna be subtraction. Okay, so we go, okay, the way that this mechanic works. Okay, so we have a 9 and a 3. Okay, and then we would roll our thing here. So that actually means we would add the 2. 9 plus 3 equals 12, and then we would add in our other, like, skill bonus, right? So your players freak out whenever a multiplication is rolled. Well, like, you might be able to keep in a crit in that way, but I would say that if they're okay, here's what you should do. If the dice rolls are equal, no, because then that's going to lead to situations like I rolled a 25 and it was 5 times 5, and but like the multiplication still has a huge amount of variance, because like if a multiplication is rolled on a 1 and a 1, if a mult is rolled on a 1 and a 1, it just doesn't really mean much. Okay. Amazon dude across the street, not even at our house. What the hell? Yeah, so my thought is like basically just reducing the overall variance is like a big deal here. Players might kind of freak out whenever like, yeah, big number equals better thing, right? But like I still think you might be able to do something equally as exciting with less bloated mathematics, right? Like it's, yeah. Okay, thank you. That's kind of where I was at with that. But overall, looking at like everything else you kind of have going for it, you do have a core resolution mechanic that, yeah. What are the chances of getting a multiplication on a single sign on 2D, with a single sign on the 2d10s? What are the chances of getting a multiplication with a single sign on the 2d10s? Wait, what? Oh, like one times 1? That's the thing, is like from 1 up to 5, the multiplication is a little bit underwhelming, right? Because like 1 times 5 is 5. And it would actually be better if they added together. 1 plus 5 is 6. You know? Is it one multiplication sign on each die? It's, yeah, it sounds like there's one mult sign. So, like, in some ways, this multiplication isn't even a crit. You know, it's actually worse than the addition. Now, it's still, like, yeah, if it mults on a roll of 1, but, like, that's still there, you know? Yeah. Yeah. You have 2 of these dice every roll. So you have 2d10, right? and these are generating a number between 1 to 10. And then you have an equation die that it has plus, minus, you know, that kind of stuff. Two standard D10s that act as the numbers, and the equation dice is modifying. Yeah. Actually, wait, fudge dice. Hang on. For Fate. Yeah. Like, it would, you might not even have to get custom dice made, and it would be a little bit easier to distinguish if you were also using, like, the fudge dice instead, right? It was OG, powered by the apocalypse, with D6 at too low a variance. Okay, so that's my deal, is, like, I think that, like, for me, I would rather have lower variance than high swingy variance. Oh, you've never seen these? Yeah. So, Fate, these are the dice that are used by Fate. Okay? They're D6s that have plus and minus signs. And what you could do is, like, you wouldn't even have to have custom dice made. They're fudge dice. Like, you can go pick these up on Amazon for, like, nothing. I randomly got a bag of them one day for, like, I think it was, like, maybe $4. There are tons of these out there. Your mult doesn't have to be the same as your number die. Wait, what? No, it's not. It's not the same. Yeah. You're disappointed none of these dice are made from fudge. I promise you someone has probably resin cast fudge for a fudge die. That is definitely a thing. How big a modifier is expected to have? Well, okay, so backtracking on this real quick. There are some cases where I feel that the multiplier is actively worse than just doing the addition. And I would say because of that, there's probably a bit of a flaw going on. And I think that if you remove that and you lowered your variance overall, then, like, I think your game's going to run smoother. The math is going to be a lot snappier. And, like, if you go with, like, hey, it uses fudge dice and 2d10s, that's cool. I haven't heard of a game doing that. Yeah, made them custom because I have access to a 3D printer and too much time. I don't know. Do I still have fudge dice anywhere? I don't think I do. I think I got rid of them because I just didn't really... Yeah, I don't know where they would be right now. Anywho. So... That's kind of my thought on that, at least with your resolution mechanic. The fact that there is an instance in which it is worse for you to roll multiplication than it is for you to, like... Because, like, if that's supposed to feel like your crit, there's times where it doesn't feel like your crit. And if it's not operating the way that you would like it to, where that should always feel like a good thing for you, there's probably an issue with it, right? They were called fudge dice because they were originally used in the fudge system, which Fate is based off of. Oh, I was not aware. Well, there you go. Maybe have it as an optional rule. My players are very much bigger number equals hype. I mean, I still feel like I get plenty of hype out of smaller numbers. Like, yeah. You done to play test of some of this. Yeah, there you go. So, like, Discord servers right there, right? Get chatting, all that good business. Yeah, like I said, I think it's an interesting resolution mechanic. I personally don't feel like the multiplication is doing what you want it to do. And rather than try to come up with a complicated means of trying to fix that, I would just reduce the variance. It inspired you to include a multiplication sign on the things for higher numbers. Because bigger number equals bigger hype. Well, then why not use a D40,000? I didn't mean like a Warhammer thing there. It's just like literally the first thing that came to mind. If like bigger number equals better result, then like, okay, then like we need a D684 system. Like, okay, so then like we need a custom die now that's made with 684 sides. Or, you know, like I don't really, like, that's not really the kind of thing that lights up my neurons, is I guess where I'm at, you know. And I mean, if it's a taste preference thing, it's a taste preference thing. But generally, I would think reducing the amount of math you're doing is the thing that's going to make the game run smoother. But yeah. Cool. But yeah, thanks for submitting. Thanks for submitting a game that was also less than 1,000 words. But yeah, I hope that's helpful. At least you hear my viewpoint, even if it's not like the kind of thing you immediately want to implement. But that's kind of my thoughts on it. But yeah, man. Oh yeah, totally. Thanks for submitting. Let's take a look at the Motor Spirit Warlock. It's 985 words. Okay. So, the calamitous roar of 10,000 forges, the wasting heat of a desert turned to glass, the unquenchable wrath of terrible fires. These are the domains of the Motor Spirit, a being of flame, metal, smoke, and hatred. Your patron is a being of fiery power with an ecological destruction, bent on burning up anyone and anything it can to fuel itself. We need... Hey. All right. Let's see. Ghost Rider, yeah. Okay, so it's still not totally done yet. A heavy arm spell. Grease. Okay, Destructive Wave, Fire Shield, Summon Construct, Pyrotechnics, Flame Blade. This is just fire. Crown of Madness, Shatter, Windwalk, Meteor Sword. Expanding it up into 9th level. I know that some Warlocks have done this. I try to cut back on that. Cue Bad to the Bone. Bad to the Bone is not metal. Yeah, what's the most hardcore song we can think of? Bad to the Bone. No, you need like... You want to know... Oh, here you go. Probot. Yes! Here you go. Oh! Yeah, there's a drive to it that you just don't really get out of Bad to the Bone. Yeah, I am the Warlock. Yeah. Only Genie has, if I can recall, and that was just to give it Wish. Yeah. Yeah, especially because you don't have anything set for these yet. Cut it. Meteor Swarm, is it necessary? I don't necessarily think so. I would cut it up here. Unless there's something incredibly specific you want it to do. When you cast Armor of Agathis... What? Hold up, nothing gave me Armor of Agathis, so I might not be able to use this feature because I don't have the spell, right? So that's already... We already hit a spot where it's like, let's... Hang on, pull the brakes. Armor of Isaiah, which changes the material to a chunk of warm metal. For the spell's duration, it's altered in the following ways. It deals fire damage. Isn't it already on the Warlock spell list? Yeah, but they might not have it known, right? Like, the way that Warlock is getting their spells is like they still have to choose them. So if I didn't choose Armor of Agathis, then I don't have a feature here. Right? For the spell's duration, it's altered in the following ways. It deals fire damage. Your speed increases by a number of temporary hit points you gain. Your speed increases by the number of temporary hit points you gain as per Armor of Agathis. Yeah, it should have been added automatically. Yeah, like you always have it prepared, that kind of thing. Not familiar with the system? It's D&D. Why can't you just give me that spell? That's what I was saying. And then... Wait. Are you tweaking shit? Hey, you're tweaking shit while I'm reading this. What do you? But here's the other thing. Yeah, they're okay. So if this, you thought this was Vagabond, that would be a completely different look. Yeah, wait till they're done. Yeah. Is that not what the critique is for? No, I'm fucking with you. Don't worry about it. I like this idea a lot. From burning. Okay, so this is probably heavy arms. Yeah. Or similar fire-based effects. I would just say while you have it, you have resistance to fire damage, and then upgrade that later on. Yeah, you're resistant to fire damage. Give it to him kicking on here at first. Oh, woo. And then you don't have to really write something specific as this right here. Is this for 2014? That's a good question. Is this for D&D 2014? Because if it's for D&D 2024, this might work, but it's not as per D&D 2014. Yeah, and they would get them as options. Yeah, it's 2014. You were just lazy on the wording. Okay, so yeah, that would need to align with that. And then if it was for 2014, you need to say that you have... Just say you get the Armor of Isaiah spell. And that would be a different spell you would write, I guess. But like when you cast Armor of Agathis... Like, you get the Armor of Agathis spell, and when you cast it, it has the following changes. Because if it's going to just be... You call the spell this instead. Yeah, you call it Armor of Agathis. Yeah. People tend to say 5.24. I have not been involved with discussions on it, so I have no idea. Yeah, I know that the Fiend already has it, but fuck them. Burning Hands and Scorching Ray not being on here feels weird. I mean, true, but like, we need something, if it's gonna be specific to it, say you get Armor of Agathis, and it has the following changes, and that's a spell that they always have. Cool, and then move on, right? All these benefits only apply while you have the temporary hit points granted by the spell. That's already... Yeah, that's redundant. That's already a part of... While the spell is affecting you, right? So you can just, like, for the spell's duration, it's altered in the following ways. You might say, like, for you, Armor of Agathis is altered in the following ways. It deals fire damage rather than cold. Your speed increases by the number of temporary hit points you gain, I think is cool. You cast Bright Light out for 10 feet and Dim Light for another 10 feet is cool, right? I don't know that I would give them fire resistance here, but since you're tweaking it and adding heavy arms and stuff in here, I guess that's a thing. You can subsist on oil, or embers. Oil, coal, or embers. You can transform spit blood into oil and expose or broken bones into coal. When you light flammable materials on fire, affected creatures start burning instead of taking an extra 5 fire damage. The X equals your charisma modifier. Whoa, 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 what? Oh, no, you can't do that. No, 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 no. No, not burning XD6, not like that. That's like an on-demand fireball. That's way too much. Not exactly a fireball, but it's way too much. I'm not, yeah, at most proficiency bonus, I would say like half your proficiency bonus at most. Yeah. All right, let's get this back to. Yeah. What a contrast. Or start taking damage equal to charisma. No. You legit forgot 5e characters can have +5 at level 1. Even if it was 3d6, that's too much. If it's 1d6, I'm like, okay, we'll see what it does. Yeah. You said to last your charisma modifier for how long it burns, make it last a set amount of dice. Well, if it's burning as I remember, as per heavy arms, they can put that out pretty easy. But like, it's still, they're gonna take one instance of it as a boom, you know. And if you're gonna like, here's my oil, like, I'm gonna make oil. If I can make oil, especially oil that burns like that right there. Anytime that you're making an item like that, the thing that you have to remember is that other creatures can use it too. Yeah, that's kind of where I'd worry about that. Or you can just add your charisma modifier to any fire or burning damage you cause. Yeah, something like that. While you're under the effects of Armor of Isaiah, you're resistant to fire. Additionally, whenever you are resistant to fire, you are resistant to cold. Okay. You cannot be bound, restrained, or otherwise inhibited in how you act or move by cold-based effects. Additionally, when you regain hit points, you gain temporary hit points instead. Or you can gain, which can be added to any temporary hit points you already have. If you gain temporary hit points during the duration of Armor of Isaiah, you regain that spell's benefits if you lost them due to you losing temporary hit points. Hang on. This in combination with, I already liked this as an idea. I don't know that this works in combination with this up here, but I'm a little confused on what it would do. It's pretty unprecedented for the system to let temporary hit points stack. It can work. I don't know that this is making it work. Especially because we can think of ways where you can regenerate hit points that can game this pretty hard. Paralyzed or slowed by effects that deal cold damage. That's kind of what I would think. Kingilla. You can cast Summon Dragon. You can also cast it once without a spell slot. You're getting okay. When you start casting the spell, you can modify it so it doesn't require concentration, and it lasts its full duration. If you cast it this way, the dragon is huge, and its breath weapon deals fire damage in a 60-foot cone. So you can summon a dragon once. Okay. For a long rest. When okay. This needs to go with like grappled or something like that. Your speed can't be inhibited by cold-based effects, and kind of leave it at that. I would say do something like that. Additionally, whenever you regain... Here, let me close these out. Regain hit points, you can gain temporary hit points instead, which can be added to... I don't think this mechanic is going to be... I don't think this mechanic is healthy, is where I would go. You could do this up here as part of the 6th level, but I don't know what all this is doing right now, and that's a little bit worrying. And like kind of looking at it like that, Devil's Ride. Okay, you can make a motorcycle, right? Okay. Beowulf, your cat. Back to the chain. Your cat familiar? Has an intelligence of 8, a charisma of 12, and can speak one language you know. Okay, Black Thunder. When you cast a spell that deals thunder damage while in an area of dim light or darkness, the casting and the effect are silent. Oh, that's wild. Yeah, I don't know how crazy awesome it is or anything, but like, wow, that's... I like the cinema of it. That's cool. It's a construct and immune to poison damage and being charmed, frightened, confused, or poisoned. This might be okay, but I still think that there's better invocations. I'm not really thinking of this as an invocation I would necessarily pick up. Whatever, like, investment of the Chainmaster or whatever that is, like, that's fucking wild. Your speed, you can just say whenever you gain temporary hit points, you are under the effects of the spell at 10th level. Yeah, probably. Like, you could do something like that. Your pack bike, okay, has the following weapon station, flamethrower. Okay, so you're adding a part to the vehicle here. It can jump without needing to move beforehand, and when it does, it gains a 60-foot fly speed until the end of your turn. I would just give it a fly speed. Especially at 15th level? Yeah, it just needs a fly speed. Give it a fly speed. I tend to think that fly speeds that are given to you that are pretty easy to access at like 9th level is pretty okay in 5e. You missed the first invocations, but oh well. Streambug, you missed the first few invocations. I mean, I just kind of skimmed, but it'll be on the VOD. Manslaughter. When the bike moves within 5 feet of a creature that isn't prone or another vehicle for the first time on a turn, it can rake the target with protruding blades for 1d10 plus K. A creature moves out of its way, takes some damage if it succeeds on the dexterity save against your spell save DC. A vehicle moves out of the way, takes some damage if the driver succeeds on the save. So this is just like it's getting a weapon. I don't know that I would pick this up with a invocation. I mean, it is just 1d10 plus dex damage that you're doing if you move. While you have temporary hit points from Armor of Isaiah, you can use a bonus action on your turn to impose your will upon creatures near you. Each visible creature that you choose within 15 feet must make a wisdom save against your spell save DC or be frightened for 1 minute. This effect ends early if you're incapacitated, die, or lose the temporary hit points granted by Armor of Isaiah. Is cursed for your Warlock features. Fabricate buffs to metal, flesh to stone, but they turn to metal. Oh, you're writing down ideas. Curse for your Warlock features. I don't know that I'm super familiar with what that is meaning. Okay. So I've gone through, I think, point for point, kind of where my kind of issues with it were. I'm really confused by the 10th level. I think that this is functional here in the 14th. But I think that you could beef up the 6th. But I think a lot of this keeps coming down to trying to cram this as an idea over Armor of Agathis, right? As like an overwrite. For other invocations that proc on creatures being cursed, what would that be, like? I guess the Hex spell or something like that? Like as per the Hex spell, maybe? Yeah, I guess I'm not totally sure what that would be. But I can actually feel my back is like, hey, we got to get out of this chair. So I think I need to wrap it there. You can just give them the fire resistance at 6 rather than exclusively while under the spell. Yeah, you can do that really easily. Because if you put in too much that's like reliant on this spell, it kind of feels like the entire thing is, I have to cast this. You made and posted a Barbarian subclass 15 months ago. Mind checking it out, or do we have the queue going? I didn't see it in the forum. Can you post it over there, and I'll get to it on the next stream? Only reason I'm saying I gotta clock out now is because my back is starting to kill me in this chair. I'm working to try and get another chair. Yeah. Oh yeah. And thank you for submitting. Yeah. Later. Yeah. Hey guys, thank you all so much for submitting everything. And thank you all for all the support and everything. I am going to try to get out of this chair for the rest of the day. And I think... Let me see here. Oh, yeah. Usually great for long-term use. You would think, right? Here. One of the things I'll be dropping here soon. Yeah, that's okay. I'm going to be dropping an Allegria template for people that want to use InDesign, and I'm going to be working on trying to replicate this over in Affinity. So if you wanted to make your stuff look really similar to a lot of the Allegria stuff that's going out there, I'm going to be dropping this basically for free. Why is this still doing that too? I don't know. Anyways, I'll be dropping this. That'll be a freebie. One of the other things, the reception to what I was doing with White Plume Mountain has been really cool. I've been really happy to hear it. And yeah, I can also hear my voice going out. So the other one I'm going to be tackling soon. I don't know about immediately, but yeah. I've been meaning to hit this one for a second. Seeing what I can do to maybe like possibly improve it. But Tomb of Horrors. So I'm looking forward to knocking that out at some point. But anyways, it'll be that. And it will be system neutral. So I gotta find a cartographer and everything to help me handle that. But anyways, hope you all have a happy new year. All that good business. Be safe. If you're going out, Ubers, all that stuff, right? Do not drive when you're drinking, all, basic life stuff, Be safe out there. I hope you all have a good one. And I will see you all next year.